Greetings, horror, sci-fi, and Edgar Wright fans. Drew here from Horror, Sci-Fi, and Beyond, and we got a special ramble on for you. Because we're actually in the spooky October season, and again, the moon, we thought it would be kind of cool for the 20th anniversary to review Shaun of the Dead, the Edgar Wright zombie comedy film, and it's one of my favorite horror comedies of all time. And with me to review this movie is the man, the myth, the legend, Eric White.
Hey everybody.
How's it going, man?
It's going good. Going good. Just excited about I felt the first cool breeze blow this morning. And I was like, oh, it's fall now.
Yep.
It's finally happened.
Yeah. Yep.
Took long enough
on
in
the
the south.
ground. Leaves are falling on the ground. I gotta sweep my driveway every so often. But yeah, man. And then our next guest is from Alabama, the singing wizard himself, Mr. Jackson Arbor. How's it going?
Howdy, y'all.
You decided to review some Shaun of the Dead?
Sure.
Me too, man. I love this movie. Like I said, it's one of my favorite horror comedies of all time.
It's pretty great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta.
And it holds up for something 20 years old. It all still works really well. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta say, this was gotta be one of the hardest movies to write notes for. Because when you have a director like Edgar Wright that's just throwing jokes at you like a mile a minute, it's pretty hard to keep up.
Yeah.
And like every joke is pretty much like gold.
Yeah. The thing about it is, and we'll get into Edgar Wright maybe a little bit later, but his filmography is so good that Shaun of the Dead is near the bottom of the list for me.
Really?
Interesting. That's not saying I don't love this movie, because I do. I just love most of his other movies. The only one I think I would put below Shaun of the Dead is Baby Driver. I don't think Baby Driver.
Oh, what? You too? You don't like Baby Driver?
Yeah. I don't really like Baby Driver that much.
Baby Driver's like one of my favorites.
That's okay. I mean,
I don't like it either. So you're in the same boat as me.
Or Baby Driver. That's my number one Edgar Wright.
I like things about it.
Same.
I like things about it, but overall, I don't think it's as cool as it's definitely no Scott Pilgrim. And
100%.
I'm one of those weirdos. Yeah. I'm one of those weirdos that my favorite of the Cornetto trilogy is The World's End.
Really?
Yeah. Because that one hits me emotionally harder than the other two.
Okay.
That's true.
That's the only one I have not seen.
Oh,
you haven't seen that one? Oh, yeah, man.
It is
Smashy Eggman. Yeah, you should watch that.
Yeah. So. And then the other thing that we'll be doing, like last year, we will be doing a modern day horror movie, Mount Rushmore, kind of like we did last year. But this is going to be from 2004 till this year.
So we get to argue and veto and ruin each other's night.
Yeah. Dude, last year I was happy with what
I don't even remember what we ended up picking.
It was
I don't remember either.
Exorcist, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Nosferatu, and then The Thing for whatever reason.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. See, I would have been okay with
fine.
Yeah, remove The Thing and then put in Night of the Living Dead. Then you had the perfect list right there.
Okay.
See, I would have pulled Nosferatu, but whatever.
Yeah. Well, no,
I can't remember. I feel like I vetoed. I feel like I vetoed something out of spite. It might have been Night of the Living Dead.
Yeah, it was Psycho. It was Psycho.
Oh, it was Psycho.
I remember we each had a chance to remove one from all of ours, and then put one in there automatically, and that was it.
Yeah.
It was Psycho. That was fun.
So basically, stick around, audience, and you can hear us argue for the last hour of this, and basically become not friends anymore.
Yeah, it's like, how can he not put this movie on the list? Saw X is amazing.
I just don't like Psycho that much.
Psycho's amazing. I love Psycho, dude.
I like the first half of it, and then it gets boring.
Well, that's your problem.
After the shower scene, I'm just like, okay, I don't care anything about this like procedural that follows.
Yeah. Well, it's a crime movie, and you don't like crime movies, you heathen.
Sometimes I do, but it's not my favorite genre.
Yeah. So before we get to that, we haven't done this segment in a while. Let's talk, since we're getting closer to the spooky season. We're still in September, but have you guys been watching any horror movies?
I haven't really been watching a lot of movies lately, but I have been watching, and this will come up later when the interview with the vampire episode posts, because I talk a little bit about it on there. I've been watching True Blood.
Okay, yeah, I remember that.
So
I've never seen past season 1. Yeah,
very horror centric, but also just very campy comedy, and lots of titties and stuff.
Yeah, well,
all the best.
That's the only reason why I watch that show, because of vampires and tits.
I mean, there's a lot of both of those things on the show, but it's a fun show. I'm in season 6 now.
Okay.
So I've just been blowing through it, and it's kind of like some of it's kind of gotten stale, but every once in a while they'll introduce a new element that keeps it fun and interesting. There's always a new set. They haven't introduced a new set of creatures in a while, so I'm sort of getting tired of the ones that, because that's the thing about that show is like you have vampires, you have werewolves, you have shapeshifters, which are different from werewolves, you have were-panthers, which are
what?
Were-panthers, and they're all these like inbred hillbilly meth heads that make up the were-panther tribe. Then you have fairies, you have witches. In season 2, there's a Dionysian cult led by a Maenad. I don't know. It's very strange.
Love it.
It's a weird.
I only saw the first season of True Blood, but I do. I had a friend who was an actor when I was in college, and he spent. There was a party. It was like a house party, and people were coming over, and he spent the entire house party telling people that he auditioned and got cast as a time traveling Van Helsing on like the 3rd season of True Blood, and everyone believed him. And so he just got free shots the whole night. And then the next day they were like, "When did you start?" He's like, What are you talking about?" And so he just lied his way into free alcohol for the night.
Hey, that's pretty cool. There is no time traveling Van Helsing on.
There is no time traveling. Oh, it's new. It's new.
Yeah, well, at least
got free shots.
Well, maybe it's in season 7. I don't know. I haven't gotten there yet.
I don't know.
That's cool, man. Is there anything else you wanna highlight, or was that just about it for you?
I mean, I haven't really been watching. I did watch a lot of movies a couple weeks ago because my parents were gone, and so I just took the opportunity. But I didn't watch any horror movies. I watched a whole bunch of like rom-coms and teen movies.
Okay.
Which one of them? Okay, it's not a horror, but it's sci-fi. There's a movie that I watched called "The Map of Tiny Perfect Things."
Never heard of it.
It's really good. It's got Catherine Newton in it, and it's a time loop movie.
Watch it.
It's a time loop movie, but it's like Palm Springs because there's 2 people stuck in the time loop together, and they have to figure out how to get out of it. And it's sort of a romance, sort of a sci-fi. I wouldn't call it like that much of a comedy. It's not as funny as like Groundhog Day, but it's got its charm to it for sure. And I think everybody here likes Catherine Newton, so that's reason enough to watch it. She's great in it. So
yeah, I think she's absolutely like adorable, and everything I've seen her is.
Yeah, and she gets to play all of those notes in this movie too.
Yeah,
but there's a hint of melancholy to it all as well. Yeah,
I took that out. All right, what about you, man? The myth, the legend.
Ooh, I went on a tear a while back and I watched a bunch of stuff. But here recently, I think the only thing of note that I would recommend everyone watch, but don't watch the trailer for it because it kind of gives away too much, is a movie called Strange Darling. It kind of blew
Yeah,
through
I
theaters.
want to see that.
Yeah, it blew through theaters in like 2 weeks and it was gone. So it'll be on streaming soon. But it's really good. It's twisty, fun little thriller. With just basically two leads. It's basically almost like a two-hander, but
Yeah.
really good, really good, really fun. Shot on like film by Giovanni Ribisi of all people, like the actor.
Really?
Oh,
He's
wow.
Yeah,
like the
he was
cinematographer.
the DP for the whole thing. Yeah.
Okay, that's cool.
Check it out. I would highly recommend it. Just if you haven't seen a trailer for it, don't watch the trailer.
Yeah, I
Just check
haven't
it out.
seen the trailer. I
Yeah.
know that's Kyle Gallner though, right?
Yep.
I'm a
Kyle
big
Gallner,
fan.
and then
Big fan of
the
him.
lady is really good. Her name is Willa. I don't remember what it is. She was on Reacher, that TV show on Amazon
Oh, I've
about
never
the,
watched that.
yeah.
I'm gonna look
But
her up.
Willa starts with an F, Fitzgerald or Fitzpatrick or something like that. Either way,
Okay.
look up Strange Darling, watch it at your nearest convenience. It's great.
Yeah.
That's it.
Okay. Well, I got a lot, so I'll just highlight two things, and then I'll just run through a bunch of honorable mentions.
Willa Fitzgerald. Yeah, I've seen her in
Yep.
some stuff, but
Yeah, I think
yeah,
I've heard of
I
her.
like her.
Yeah, the name sounds familiar. But my first highlight is I watched a little Stephen King documentary called Stephen King: A Necessary Evil, and it was pretty solid. It was about it was under an hour, and it kind of splits it into like different themes of from Stephen King, like religion and childhood and fathers, and it was really interesting. It was presented really interesting, and there's no new interviews. It's basically just a compilation. It's just a basically this narrator narrating over pictures and like old interviews of Stephen King and like clips from his movies and all that stuff. And it's really cool. It's on Amazon Prime for free.
Hmm.
So
Cool.
check
Okay.
check it out.
Cool.
My other highlight I want to get into detail about is a movie from 1980 with Dennis Christopher called Fade to Black. This is a really interesting movie. Basically, Dennis Christopher, who played Eddie in the It miniseries, the adult version, the
Oh, okay.
yeah,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
he plays a kid who's obsessed with older movies, and he works in like a film archive, I believe, and he at this restaurant during his lunch break, and he sees this Australian aspiring model who looks a lot like Marilyn Monroe. And he starts becoming obsessed with her. And then
Okay.
he invites her to the movies, and he gets stood up by her. And then his overbearing aunt dies, and then he just goes on a kill rampage. But he's
Oh my
dressed up as
gosh.
Oh,
different like
jeez.
movie characters. So at one point, he dresses up as Dracula and like kills this model's best friend. He dresses up as a cowboy and kills his asshole employee played by a very young Mickey Wark.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. He plays a
Wow. Okay.
mummy and kills his boss, and then he plays like a gangster, and he kills somebody else as the gangster, but I don't remember who it was. But so yeah, it's a pretty crazy movie. But
I've never even heard of this
Okay.
movie.
No.
if you have Shudder, it's definitely worth checking out.
Do you know who directed it?
I don't know who directed it,
Okay.
but it has a very kind of Brian De Palma kind of feel to it, like very
Yeah, it
Okay.
sounds like something Brian De Palma would make. Yeah.
yeah. But it's really crazy. It's a
I'm gonna look it up
crazy,
real quick.
crazy movie.
It's directed by Vernon Zimmerman. I've never even heard of him.
Yeah.
He didn't direct very many movies.
Apparently,
Sounds
you
familiar.
never heard of him.
Yeah.
But anyways, some quick honorable mentions. These are just movies that I've seen for the first time. Finally watched The Quiet Place.
Hmm.
Watched Leprechaun. Went to go see the new Beetlejuice. Watched Death Becomes Her, which is not really horror, but more like a high concept fantasy comedy romantic movie.
Definitely got some horror elements to it, though.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, when when the walkout and Meryl Streep's head is on backwards or whatever.
Yeah.
I love Death Becomes Her.
I haven't seen it in so long.
Great.
It's one of those weird movies that you forget that Zemeckis made.
Mm-hmm. And the weird 90s after he had like had a run with like Back to the Future and like Roger Rabbit, like he'd done all these like for family movies.
But before he
like,
does like Forrest Gump and becomes like
Right.
an Oscar.
Right.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. And I'm like watching this movie and I'm like, yeah, this is a movie so crazy that the guy that made Back to the Future can only make it. That's how crazy this movie is.
I hope his new movie's good. I really want it to be good.
It looks interesting. I'm gonna check it out.
I mean, it's a cool concept, but man, his last few movies have just
the past few decades have not been good
Yeah.
to Robert Zemeckis.
I haven't been keeping
There's
up
been
with
some
him.
highlights. There's been highlights.
I mean, Flight's really good.
Flight's really good.
I like certain things about The Walk.
Yeah, same.
But at the same time, like you can just watch Man on Wire.
Yeah, documentary's better.
Yeah.
But
The Walk was really good. I enjoyed that. I thought Joseph Gordon-Levitt was really good as the character.
Well, his accent is so wonky, and he has all this like terrible voiceover narration.
Yeah.
That gets so old after a while. But like visually, it's a very cool looking movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
And they made it on a really low budget too.
Yeah.
For the kind of movie it is. It was only like a $35 million movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's got tons of visual effects, but they figured out like ways to make them cheaply. It was pretty cool, actually. Yeah.
Okay, interesting. And then I watched Trick or Treat, not the Mike Doherty film, the one from the 80s about the metalhead kid who plays the record backward and he unleashes his favorite rock star who just
oh my god.
It was pretty good. I wanted more from it, but this isn't a review of the movie, so I'll just leave it at that. This isn't necessarily a horror movie, but I did go see the new Dave Bautista movie, The Killer's Game. So I thought I'd highlight that since, he's in the Guardians movies and we do MCU Look Back, and he was also in Knock at the Cabin. With
Blade Runner 2049. Yeah, he's in a bunch of stuff.
But this is stuff like that we've reviewed before. So I thought it was appropriate for the channel.
I didn't even realize he had a new movie out.
Yeah, it was pretty decent. It was good. And then to wrap up the honorable mentions, I finally saw it. I finally saw the movie that Affleck was the bomb in. Phantoms.
Oh my gosh!
And he was the bomb in it. The fact that he didn't get an Oscar nominee for this movie is astounding to me.
I've seen that movie.
Watch the same movie?
I've seen that movie. I literally remember nothing about it.
We'll watch it again.
I remember being kind of bad.
Who else is in it? Is it like Liev Schreiber, I think? Is he in it? Yeah.
I think he's in it.
Rose McGowan's in it.
Rose McGowan, okay.
It kind of seemed like a cheap mimic, like the Del Toro movie from the 90s. It just seemed like a diet Coke version of Mimic to me. But
I think it's based on like a Dean Koontz book. Who's
it
is. Diet Stephen King.
Diet Stephen King.
And Affleck is giving an Oscar caliber performance in this movie.
Can't tell if you're joking or not.
I'm joking. No, this movie it was okay. I watched it before we did our interview with the Vampire review.
Okay.
And I liked it. It was fine.
It's very 90s. Very 90s.
I just think it's hilarious that Kevin Smith years later makes Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back and
Mm-hmm.
coins the phrase Affleck, you the bomb and phantoms, yo.
Phantoms.
And people
Affleck.
still shout that at Ben Affleck
Yeah.
to this day.
Mm-hmm.
Hell
That's
yeah!
really,
Phantom's
that's
like a
really
23
funny.
years.
To the point
23
where
years
if
later.
I ever saw Ben Affleck in person, I would probably have to shout that at him.
Oh, me
Same.
too. I'm like, yo, Affleck, you're the bomb of phantoms. But no, it was a fun movie. It was kind of like Twilight Zone meets The Thing a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I liked it. I'm glad I lost it.
Like I said, I remember nothing about it.
Okay.
Not one thing.
Okay. So you ready to get to Shaun of the Dead?
Sure.
Yeah.
All right. And the plot summary. According to the Internet Movie Database for Shaun of the Dead, the uneventful, aimless lives of a London electronics salesman and his layabout roommate who are disrupted by the zombie apocalypse. All right, let's go around the room and talk about how we found out about this movie and our overall thoughts. And I'll start with you, Eric, since you had the background for this movie.
Okay, yeah. I saw this movie when it came out. I didn't see it in theaters. But I rented it because I was really into like zombie movies there for a second. Around the time this came out, like I just got like barreling. I'd seen all of like the Living Dead movies and just been hunting for a bunch of stuff. And I'd never heard of Edgar Wright before. But it was like the movie that kind of put him on the map. And he'd done Space before this, and then another like low budget thing. But it was the one. It was the one thing that like cued me onto his career. I don't know. I loved it. I loved it at the time. It's still great. Still holds up. Jackson, what are your thoughts on Shaun of the Dead?
Yeah, Drew disappeared. So I was in college when this came out, and I had not really seen any zombie movies. I'd never seen Night of the Living Dead or any of the other Romero movies. I had seen a couple of years before this, I'd seen 28 Days Later, which I guess is debatable as a zombie movie. They're technically not zombies. They're like infected with the rage virus,
whatever. Yeah, whatever. Yes.
And that one, of course, took the sort of zombie movie template and did all these different things with it. But I was not like, I was kind of still a baby horror fan. I'd seen some movies, but not a whole lot. But one of my college buddies, we were sitting around one day and he's like, have y'all heard about this movie Shaun of the Dead? And I immediately thought it was a funny title because even if I hadn't seen Dawn of the Dead, I knew the title at least. And then I was like, Shaun of the Dead? He's like, yeah, it's a British, zombie comedy. And he's like, anybody want to go see it? And I was the only person that took him up on it. So I had no idea what to expect. And little did I know I was, witnessing the birth of one of our new masters of cinema, like Edgar Wright. Yeah, I've never missed a movie of his since then. He's become one of my go-to guys. So
nice.
Yeah.
Consistently solid. Every movie, even the ones that I don't care as much for, are still entertaining at the end of the day. Yeah.
Well, now, unfortunately, I'm a little bit younger than you guys. So this movie was not on my radar. I was still watching Lion King and Any Lost Souls at this time. And the one movie I cared about this year was Spider-Man 2. And
that was Sweet That's for, yeah.
I think how I found out about it was and we'll get into I'll kind of, I mean, we haven't watched yet. You guys haven't seen the Interview with the Vampire episode yet, as this is posted. But I guess it was kind of the same way how I found out about that. It was probably just flipping through Leonard Maltin's movie book.
Sure.
And I came across this, and I think I definitely heard about Night of the Living Dead, and I may have heard about Dawn of the Dead. and they were just reviews I've seen in this movie, and I thought, oh, this is kind of cool. And then I finally watched it close to 10 years ago at this point.
Wow.
I mean,
Yeah.
I didn't exactly like it because the movie is very, very British,
Mm-hmm.
like very thick accents, and you have to watch with subtitles. And there's like a joke come at you like a mile a second. Like it is insane.
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe like 6 years later, something like that, I watched it on HBO Max. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, I like this movie a little bit more. And they were just watching it, a couple more times.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I kind of like this movie. And it was a combination of that and then watching like reference videos, like people pointing out
Mm-hmm.
all the references in this movie. And I'm like, this movie's kind of brilliant. I kind of love this movie because you can just
Yeah.
generally feel the love of not only Romero zombie movies, but zombie movies in general.
Mm-hmm.
And I fucking
Had you
love this movie.
seen?
Like
Yeah.
this is
Had
my
you?
favorite. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. What?
It's
Go
just
ahead.
real quick. This is actually my favorite zombie movie of all time. This,
Oh, interesting.
Return of the Living Dead, the original
Mm-hmm.
Night of the Living Dead, probably Dawn of the Dead, and The Dead Don't Die by the Jim Jarmusch movie.
Mm-hmm.
The Dead Don't Die. I know that movie's divisive, but I really like that movie.
I really
think it's
liked it too.
terrific.
Okay,
I
I
like
just
it up until
realized-
its conclusion.
So this movie came out the same year as the Zack Snyder Dawn of the Dead.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I was just looking at the 2004 movies. Kind of an interesting year. You had like Napoleon Dynamite, which is my personal favorite movie of 2004. You had Eternal Sunshine came out that year. Anchorman came out that year. The first Hellboy, The Village.
Some good year for comedies.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there was some like Harold and Kumar came out.
Mhm.
Girl Next
I remember
Door.
that too. Yeah, if you watched our Ramble On when I talked about the Judas Priest concert, and then my our trip to St. Louis, we went to White Castle, and they still happened to be the 20th anniversary of Harold and Kumar, and they had commemorative plastic cups.
Oh my goodness.
They didn't give out joints with it? They didn't give out like free marijuana?
I did feel a little like woozy after I ate that Crystal Burger. I just gotta say.
Maybe they laced it.
One more aside before we get back to the main topic. When I think of White Castle now, I no longer think of Harold and Kumar. I think of the SNL sketch where The Rock plays like a mad scientist.
God, you and that fucking sketch, Jackson.
It's, to me, one of the funniest things I've ever seen on SNL.
I better not
and
find
one of the
your
most
on the Epstein
disturbing.
list, Jackson. That's all I gotta say.
I love it. Drew, had you seen any other Edgar Wright movies? Because you were a little late to the game. Just in you're a little younger than us. Had you seen any other Edgar Wright movies before this one?
I did not, but I was aware of Scott Pilgrim because everybody was praising that movie. I have seen part of that movie. I appreciate, and I love Edgar Wright. Do not get me wrong. He's up there among my favorite directors. Because I'm not a big gamer. Scott Pilgrim didn't really connect with me personally. Like I think it's a really creative movie. But yeah, it's just not my kind of cup of tea. But like I said, I love Shaun the Dead. Baby Drivers is probably my favorite action movie of the 2020s, and I know you and Jackson disagree on that, but I don't care. I mean, we fucking.
I also love Scott Pilgrim, so we're just like inverted. We're just
Scott
like
Pilgrim's
inverting
probably my favorite.
It may be my favorite one too.
And I'm not a big gamer either. I enjoy them, but that movie just, I don't know. That movie has got something else going on in it.
Well, I also don't like Michael Cera. I think he's annoying.
Oh, see, I think he's hilarious. So.
Okay.
Yeah,
I think he's perfect for that movie in particular. Yeah, that movie and Arrested Development.
And plus, everybody in that cast is incredible.
Stacked from top to bottom. Yeah,
everyone's in that movie.
Yeah, you got Chris Evans in there too.
Chris Evans, Brandon Routh, Anna Kendrick's in it. Brie Larson's in it. Aubrey Plaza, Mae Whitman,
Brandon Roth.
Yeah, like everybody's in that movie.
Jason Schwartzman. Yeah,
yeah,
it's stacked.
Yeah, that's a stat cast. But yeah, and then actually last night in Soho was the first movie I went to go see where the theater was completely empty. It was like just me in there.
Oh, but that would have been
But
eerie.
that
It
was
was a little
COVID, right? You
creepy.
saw it. Did you see it? Did you see it during COVID? Wasn't that one of the COVID
Yeah.
movies that got dropped and then people
Yeah, well,
no one went to go see it?
Yeah, I couldn't
it was
find any
still it
place
was
that was
when
showing it.
Yeah.
yeah, well, it was still when like it was starting to slow down a little bit. Like people were starting to go back. Things were starting to go back to normal
Yeah.
slowly.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing was, like, I went to go see Halloween Kills like a week or two earlier, and that
Hmm.
fucking place was packed.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
it would
I
probably
mean, but
just
Halloween's like a brand. People know that, I guess. No
Right.
one knows what Last Night in Soho is, unless you're just
yeah,
an Edgar Wright fan.
yeah. I really did like Last Time in Soho. The only thing about that movie I didn't like was I wish they would refer back to the mom and the main character like
Mm.
inherent ability to like see into the past.
Yeah,
And
that's fair.
then I didn't like how you were supposed to feel bad for the people that Anna Taylor Joy's character killed. Like I didn't like that.
Yeah.
Like
That
more. It's like, well, no, it's like they took advantage of her. It's just like, yeah, it's like it was all in self defense.
I don't know. That movie's got a lot of third act problems, but and I have
Yeah,
a friend who's like, there are no third act problems. They're first act problems. But they trick you midway through that movie, and I don't like it. I don't like
yeah, I don't. Yeah, I need
it.
to watch it again. But yeah, I really do enjoy that movie.
Mm.
'Cause I heard Edgar Wright. I heard Anna Taylor Joy, my girl. I
Oh.
heard like thriller, like
Mm-hmm.
Alfred Hitchcock kind of Twilight Zone thriller mixed in with a little
Yeah.
kind horror. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm definitely seeing this movie in theaters. And yeah, I had a really fun time with it. I thought it was really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, and so yeah, that's my thoughts about this movie. My quick thoughts about this movie, and then
And
my
everything
thoughts
else.
yep.
And everything else.
Yeah. Well, and then Hot Fuzz is a really fun like parody of buddy cop movies. My favorite line in that whole movie is when Nick Angel figures out what's going on, and it's Nick Frost's dad, who's the head of the cult, to make the
Mm.
whole like this whole small town like happy and cheerful all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And then Nick Angel goes, "Your dad is judge, jury, and executioner." And then Nick Frost goes, "My dad is not Judge, Judy, and executioner."
It's good. There's a
Yeah,
lot of good lines in that movie. I
yeah.
always think a big old bushy beard.
Yeah.
It comes in my head like
Great
all the
big
time.
bushy beard.
Bushy beard.
Well, and then of course I'd always do YARP instead of YAP in our text.
Yeah.
Yeah.
YARP. And then you can't forget the classic, "For the greater good."
The greater good.
But anyways, man, guys, let's get into
Shaun of the Dead.
yeah, Shaun of the Dead.
Roundabout way getting back here.
Yeah. So this movie opens up on some creepy music with, I believe, is by Goblin, who did the score
Mm-hmm.
for Dawn of the
Okay.
Dead. And then it immediately cuts to Ghost Town, which is kind of like a funky, like 70s song, which is awesome. I love that song. And then you have Liz telling her boyfriend Sean that he's boring, and this whole thing where his best friend, who's like this low life, what do you call it? Somebody that's that bangs off of people, that lives off that like stays in people's houses.
Like a mooch? Like a
No, not
mooch or like a
freeloader. Yeah, he's a freeloader.
Yeah.
it's the same thing, isn't it?
Yeah,
but
there's
It's the
lots
same
of
word.
barnacle, you could call it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that was a particular word I was thinking of.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
So basically, Liz is having this intervention with Sean, and there's just one point where when she says, "We never have time to," and then it cuts to Ed getting his butt kicked by an arcade game, and he
Yeah.
goes, "Fuck!" Which I thought was, and but that's the thing about it. It quickly cuts to that, and that's
Mhm.
what Edgar Wright brilliantly does. He did a lot of quick cuts. He did a lot of jokes in the background. He did a lot of just the way he tells jokes. I just love.
Mhm.
That's the thing that really gets you about the scene, because you're right into the movie and already you can tell this guy does comedy differently than a lot
Oh,
of other
absolutely.
directors, because he is using the camera and the edits in order to make you laugh, not just the
Mhm.
dialogue. The dialogue is funny all on its
Mhm.
own, but the fact that nothing exists until it's in frame,
Right.
Yeah.
so they reference Ed, and then it's revealed that Ed is there, and then they
Right.
reference Dave and Diane, and then it reveals that they're there as well. And
Right.
it's just brilliantly done. Like, other
Isn't
directors, I don't feel like
Diane?
would do it that way.
Yeah.
Right.
Isn't Diane Liz's sister?
No, I think they're just
Oh,
college
I think they're
friends.
friends.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're just friends.
Okay. Yeah. And then Dave is played by Harry Potter.
basically.
He does look a lot like Harry
He
Potter.
looks a lot of Harry Potter. I mean, what works so well about this movie is that the premise is really simple and
Mm,
like straightforward.
Yeah,
But it just allows it's just a great framework to just pack as much stuff in as they want. You know what I mean? Like it gives them a
right,
freedom to not have to like deal with like a very complicated story. It's not
right.
that it's simple or straight. It's just very straightforward, and it allows a lot of freedom to play, which I love. I
yeah.
love this movie
Right.
because it's just so it sets up its rules and just plays and just has fun with them, and it's great.
Mhm.
Now, I don't know if I said this, and I agree, I totally agree with you. Like, that's just so amazing how he was able to take this simple premise and then just, to do whatever he wants. Like,
Sure.
essentially, it's a blank canvas, and
Mhm.
somebody put a dot. It's like, okay, zombie movie set in London.
Mhm.
And then at that point, he has all this free room around this little dot to do whatever he
Right.
wants with it. That's the best
Sure.
analogy. And do you know the origins of this movie?
I
Uh,
know a little bit. Yeah.
Okay, so
I
we'll
don't know.
get
I
into,
really don't know.
yeah. So
Go
let's
for
get
it.
into that. So before we got real, big, um, his girlfriend at the time was, went away for the weekend, and he basically told him to not play video games all day. And evidently, that's what he did. He played one of the Resident Evils, like
Hmm.
literally straight into the next morning. And then
Hmm.
he went to go get coffee or make coffee, and he didn't have any creamer or milk, so he went to his local corner store
Hmm.
and or corner shop as the Brits will call it. Went down to the shop,
Yeah.
um, and then to get milk, and he just saw people just walking around, just
Hmm.
mindlessly. And he thought
Yeah.
to himself, like, these people look like zombies. What if the zombie apocalypse happened right here in England with our really strict gun law? What would happen? And that's kind of the genesis of it. And
Yeah.
we'll no guns things we'll get into later.
Hmm.
But that's one of the things I love about this movie is like after this bar scene at the Winchester, which is famous now, like that whole
Hmm.
fake bar or fake pub is famous because of this movie. Um, is you have these people just walking around and working at the cashier section of a grocery store,
Hmm.
just so
Hmm.
mindless,
Yeah.
and that kind of goes into like the Romero commentary
Hmm.
because
Right.
George Romero was very much tapping into that and all
Yeah.
of the Dead movies because Night of the Living Dead is basically about racism and racial tensions, and then Dawn of the Dead is about like the mindless sopper, and he was on to something because that is pretty much how it is nowadays with the advent of things like Amazon. And that's why we call
Right.
people that stop at Amazon a lot Amazombies. Because of that reason. Because of what? Romero was tapping into. And
Yeah.
I mean, but I think that's been around as long as there's been like mass manufacturing. Like I think
no,
just the
exactly.
consumerism is like I don't think it's been anything new. I think it's just it's still here.
You
Like,
know,
people
I'm saying like the
continue to do that.
monster,
Yeah.
with all these innovations, the monsters are getting stronger and stronger. So like the invention in the mall. Oh, like there's all these stores in one building, and then that
Mhm.
got destroyed, and that destroyed like smaller businesses.
Sure.
With actually Stranger Things season 3 got into, which I thought was really interesting, and then Amazon came out and destroyed them all, and it's destroying like physical stores.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's really
Everything's moving
interesting
to big box.
commentary.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Eventually, we'll just have space carriers. It'll be
yeah,
fun.
eventually everything we ever need is going to be like an implant in our wrist. It's going to be like a hologram. Like we're going to
Or
have
we're gonna be in
hologram.
like a Ready Player One situation.
Yeah, we're going to have like
We're all
hologram.
just living in virtual reality.
Yeah, we're going to have like
stacks of
hologram
trash.
payment
Yeah.
cards and hologram pops and TV screen. It's going to be crazy.
That sounds fun.
Whatever you say, Eric.
The way I heard, I believe it was Edgar Wright that was talking about this. It speaks a lot more to specifically like British culture, because the idea is that everybody in Britain is just so dull and lifeless that if the zombie apocalypse happened, it would take them a while to notice that it was going on.
Right. I mean,
which is
no
what this
offense.
opening montage really gets to, is
Yeah.
that people are already practically zombies. So all you are adding is them, trying to eat each other.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, and no offense to my UK audience.
Right.
I've been to
No.
London, but London, like I mean, the people are pretty cool.
I
It's very kind of bleak, to say the least.
I'm a big Anglophile myself. I love British stuff.
Oh yeah, me too. But yeah.
But that is sort of the way that Brits joke about themselves. Is that they're a very like dull, emotionless culture.
Straightforward. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I mean, yeah, a lot of like British comedians like have like
exactly
kind of humor.
And so I'm sure this movie hits different if you're
Mhm.
British.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, but it's also that too. Like it hits at a different level if you're British. But
Right.
if you ever work retail, like Shaun has, like
Oh yeah, well I have.
like, yeah, your life can get pretty mediocre and pretty much
right
monotonous.
Monotonous. Yeah.
Agree.
Yeah. Which is something fun they do in this movie is to break up that monotony. The editing is the one thing I always notice about this movie. And so like him getting ready for work with like the name tag and putting everything on, all those like quick cuts.
That costume is like
so good.
Famous now.
It's iconic.
Oh yeah.
Like, and it's so simple. It's just white shirt, red tie. Little, you got red on you.
Yeah. Like I'm seriously thinking about dressing up as Shaun this year for Halloween.
It's a super easy costume. You don't really have to do much.
Yeah, I can literally just need to go to.
You just need to make a name tag.
Yeah, I just go to like Goodwill and get like a button up that I can like cover in blood.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I love that. I love that whole kind of like, cause like I said, like I can, I don't like you said, like if you're British, you get it on that level. But like, yeah, if you work retail, like that's a whole you get on a
for
whole,
sure.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I love how like Shaun, it's just going about his day and random people are passing out. And,
yeah, everything happens very incrementally. Like you start to notice weird things here and there. Like there's the guy across the street who's like trying to catch a bird, but then the buses go in front of him and he disappears. And then you've got the couple. It looks like they're making out, but it turns out that she's like biting his head off.
Oh, I forgot about that.
He walks past and his head just goes whop, just almost falls off his body.
Oh, at the Winchester, I remember
at the Winchester,
yeah.
The one guy outside the bar whenever they're drunk walking home. It's all in increments. It feels kind of believable that it wouldn't be
Right.
like a full-blown zombie invasion right away. It's just
Right.
like these
Yeah.
1-2 people, and
you hear
yeah.
little snippets of the news, but he's always changing the
Yeah,
channel.
changing it. Yeah.
So
It's
you never get the whole
almost
story.
very Back to the Future like, where it's that wonder shot of Doc's house, and then you hear the thing about the plutonium over the
Right. Yeah.
yeah,
Mhm,
like
mhm.
we keep going back to this. I feel like this is one of the things we always talk about on the show is scripts that are very economical, like a Back to the Future, like a Home Alone, like a Shaun of the Dead, like a Die Hard.
Yeah.
That like gives you a lot of information in a very short time in a very clever way. Like
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, this movie's super clever. Like, just even talking about the like the editing and the way they change channels. So like every scene they change
yes,
to
it's
spills
that.
over into the next one. So it's
Yeah. It
continuing
I
the
like
have it
same
written
completes
thought.
the
down.
sentence.
I have it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
so good.
It's really
let's get to
fun.
that part. So when they're deep into the shit, the zombie shit,
Mhm,
Shaun is flipping through channels, and each
mhm,
channel, like what it is, it tells you a little bit of what's going on. So the first
mhm.
channel is the news,
Mhm.
and it says, although no one official is prepared to comment, religious groups are calling it Judgment Day. There's then he flips it to a Smiths concert with Morrissey, and he sings "Panic on the Streets of London." And he
Yeah.
flips to another channel, and it's the news again. And it says, as an increasing numbers of reports of flip the channel, it's a soccer game. Serious attacks on flip the
Yeah.
channel. It's in the news. People who are literally being flip the channel into a documentary, eaten alive. I love that shit. It's such a funny way of telling a joke.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Love that.
and getting log and basically just getting off pointless exposition. Like, we already know it's a zombie movie. It's just like
Right.
powering through that stuff. Yeah, it's so good.
But part of it is the fact that Shaun is still so oblivious to everything.
Right, right.
Right.
Like all this stuff is already starting to happen. People know about it, but he doesn't start to figure it out until the one zombie shows up in his garden.
Yeah.
Mhm.
There's a woman outside.
Yeah.
The thing
Which is
is,
probably like a comment on like you wouldn't even notice until it was in your backyard. Like, literally it
yeah.
has to like
Right.
fucking fall through your fence in
Well,
order
and the
to
fact that they think that like she's a druggie or like an alcoholic or whatever, like that's just even funnier.
Right.
But the funny thing about this channel flipping scene is like I do not like Morrissey at all. I think he's a complete asshole. The fact that I can laugh at him, the fact that you threw in Morrissey, and it's one of the funniest things in the movie. Like, thank you, Edgar Wright, because I do not like that man at all. I like some of Smith's music, but I just don't like Morrissey as a person.
That's fair.
He seems like he's probably a pretty tough hang.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Especially if you eat meat.
Right.
Yeah, he's definitely an introvert for sure. Like he's the definition of one.
But like he doesn't even let people like on his road crew and stuff eat meat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like you're not allowed to work for him if you eat meat. That's insane.
Yeah. And then another funny joke is you have Shaun's stepfather played by Davy Jones.
Mm-hmm.
Bill
Yeah.
Nighy. Philip is his name, is the character's name.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Who Shaun doesn't like, and apparently he didn't like Shaun, but that's a thing for later. Comes
Yeah.
to visit him at work about his bi-monthly meeting with his mom. With his mom. And then his coworker asks him, why are you mixing work with your personal life? Because there's a previous scene where he's when they're in the meeting and then he
Yeah.
his drug dealer. Son said it was an emergency, and then Liz calls his girlfriend about dinner, and then Son hangs up, and he tells his coworker, "It's Liz from the head office. No need to panic." And it's just quick cuts to a guy running in panic. It just
Good.
those little jokes that I love.
Yeah. And Bill Nighy, is it Nighy?
Nighy, yeah.
Nighy. He was really the only name at this point, right? Like in this movie, like everyone else is kind of unknowns.
Yeah,
for
but
the
I
most
mean,
part.
he had only recently become known over here because of Love Actually,
That's true.
in which he
That's true.
has the best part.
Yeah.
Easily. I wanted him to win an Oscar for that part. He's so amazing.
My fingers.
So
I feel it in
right.
my bones.
So yeah, I had just learned who he was from that movie, and then he shows up in this movie, and I'm already like, yes, I love this guy.
Too.
Yeah, but that was a few years after. That was a couple years
Yeah.
after. Yeah, because that was like 2006 is when that character shows up in the series. Because it was the second movie.
Yeah.
Which still the greatest CGI character, I think.
Those first like 3 Pirates movies still look great by comparison. Yeah. To like even some of the CGI
especially the
today.
second and third ones.
Yeah.
Because they had a lot more money because the first one was such a big hit.
Oh yeah,
right.
for sure.
But
anyway. I want to talk about my favorite scene in the whole movie.
Okay.
And it's when they figure out that it's not a druggie in their backyard. It's the actual zombie apocalypse. But they're not using the Z word yet. And they use common household objects that they use like a clothes hamper to carry out the backyard, and they keep throwing the stuff and nothing happens, and they throw in the laundry basket, and then
maybe the laundry basket will work.
And then they see like a record that Shaun's roommate threw out because like after Liz broke up with Shaun, they started having like a party,
partying all night. Yeah.
So they throw it at the zombie, and that seems to work. And they bring out their all Shaun's albums, and they just go through it. He's like, Stone Roses, nope. And then he throws Blue Monday. He's like, that was the first pressing. Like, ooh, what about Sunday? That
Sade.
Yeah, but he did dump you.
I did not care for the fact that he was okay with chucking the Dire Straits record because I love Dire Straits.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah. And then, being the big Prince fan that I am, love the part when he gets the Prince albums and he says, Purple Rain, nope. Sign of the Times, definitely not. It was just funny because, Sign of the Times, Zombie Apocalypse.
Right.
And he's like, Batman soundtrack.
Yeah, he's okay with chucking that one. Yeah.
And I bet Shaun is regretting that now because they're not printing that anymore.
I thought it just got reprinted like recently. Like I thought Mondo. I think Mondo reprinted it like recently.
No, that was the Danny Elfman score. That wasn't.
Never mind.
Yeah.
Never mind. Sorry, I got my hopes up.
Yeah, but I thought that was really funny. It's like, well, that's the thing is like, Batman and print are like two different entities that are like it's probably a copyright thing.
Sure.
But yeah, I just thought that was so funny. He's like, yeah, I bet you're regretting that now, Shaun. But of course, I'm a big Prince fan, and I'm also a Batman fan. And I actually own 2 of the 3 albums. I own Purple Rain on purple vinyl from exclusive or Target exclusive, and then I own Sign of the Times.
Nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in case of a zombie apocalypse, you've got ones you won't throw.
Yep, I'm not throwing it. I'm just not throwing the Purple Rain because that's pink vinyl or purple vinyl.
Okay.
Yep. I'll throw my Kenny Loggins record. That I'll have.
Which Kenny Loggins? Which Kenny? You don't have a Kenny Loggins record?
It was the random one I thought of.
Not Caddyshack.
Yep. I'll make sure I'll get any Limp Bizkit record I can get my hands on for that reason alone.
$2 bill, y'all? What? No.
I can't stand Limp Bizkit. They suck ass. Worst band ever. The worst than Nickelback. I can tolerate Nickelback.
Yeah, no, you're probably right. They were all the rage in the early 2000s.
I never got into Limp Bizkit. No.
I didn't either, but I knew people who loved them.
Yeah, and then I just love how the whole plan. They're playing like what they're gonna do. I can't even remember like all what they said is like we'll go to mom's, you know, we'll kill Philip because he turns into a zombie, and then
Mhm.
we'll go back here and wait for the whole thing to blow over. He's like, oh wait, no, we gotta go get Liz. And then Ed's like, why Liz? Cause I love her. Okay, gay. Did not age at all.
There's a few jokes in here that didn't age so
Yeah.
well. But
Yeah,
it is
Ed definitely says the N-word at one point.
yeah.
No.
And it's like, ooh,
Yeah, I had
it was a
forgotten
choice.
that was in there
Yeah.
until I watched it today, and I was like, "Oh man!"
And then
But I
and
guess it
then-
probably doesn't. It doesn't. It's not the same in the UK.
yeah.
Probably not. It also
Probably
is it sort of builds into his character that he is a bit aloof and
Yeah,
kind of a dummy.
he's dumb. Yeah,
Yeah, he wouldn't know any better anyway. So
right.
What the leather, man?
But this scene that we're talking about, like, I love the use of repetition
Yeah.
that Edgar Wright uses, where it's just like he changes it slightly every time, but it's still all the same shots over and over again.
Right, and then I liked how at the end of this part where the conclusion is we gotta go to the Winchester because it's safe and secure. And
Mhm.
that was one thing that Liz did not like about her relationship with Shaun. She did not like how he would never take her out on a nice date to like an actual restaurant.
Right.
It was always the Winchester.
Mhm.
Because
Yeah.
in their relationship is safe and secure. Like Shaun is very much a character who is very comfortable
Mhm.
Mhm.
where he's at in life.
Is he? I mean, he seems almost
he
miserable
seems like
sometimes, though. So I don't know.
He's complacent. That's
Yeah.
the
Complacent,
word.
yeah.
Yeah, the word I would use. And I was so recently the Unspooled podcast covered this movie as well, and I was listening to that because I love that podcast. But Amy, one of the hosts,
Mhm.
pointed out that like Shaun sucks. Like,
Yes,
Yeah.
he's her
Shaun
boyfriend.
really sucks, and his plan is terrible because he gets
Yeah.
almost everyone killed.
Mhm.
Everyone except for Liz, like him and Liz are the only ones.
Everybody else
he has to
dies.
kill his mom. Yeah,
Well, Harry Potter I didn't really care about. Fuck Harry Potter.
Yeah,
Well, not the
He's-
character.
he's got the
actual
coolest
character,
death
the
in the
absolute
movie.
psycho. And
that's true.
he's got the coolest death in the movie, though, for sure.
Well, and that was an obvious ode to.
It's a Day of the Dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Recreation.
Calm down.
Yeah, but anyway, we didn't talk about. We
Dr.
didn't talk about.
Frankenstein, and I want to know what the fuck you're doing with my time.
Oh my gosh. We didn't talk about Pete at all, and it's not a big character, but it's notable that it's
Right.
Peter Serafinowicz, who
Pete?
I don't know how. Yeah, their roommate,
Oh
Mhm.
yeah.
the one that they find in the shower, and he spends the rest of the movie being a naked zombie.
Mhm.
Yeah, and he comes
But-
back to the Winchester.
Have you ever seen any of his other stuff, like his sketch comedy or anything?
Yeah. I don't know this guy. outside
Oh,
of-
he's big in the UK.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah, I
he's
would-
at his own like TV show, like sketch show. He does the best Beatles impressions you will ever.
Oh my god. I gotta
Go
look.
on YouTube later and look him up. Peter Serafinowicz, the Beatles. It's so funny.
But no, a lot other part I like is when they're listening to the house music or whatever, and he keeps Pete awake, and then Pete's
Yeah.
pissed off, and he's like, "I gotta go to work fucking tomorrow because my whole fucking apartment is fucking hell."
Yeah.
I
love
mean,
that.
Shaun. It is interesting because Shaun does kind of suck, and Liz is not wrong for dumping him and or wanting better for her life.
Right.
But we do follow him, so he is our protagonist.
Right.
And then everybody else is basically his antagonist, and the zombies really don't matter after a while. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
it's not even really about the zombie apocalypse. It is just about getting back with Liz and kind of proving everyone else wrong that he's good. But everyone has to die in order for him to finally learn his lesson, though.
Right. Everyone.
Yeah.
Everyone dies except for Liz. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And some of it's really sad. Like when
Yeah.
Bill dies, it's really sad because he's just like, I just wanted to be a father to you and teach you how to be a man. And I know you don't like me, but I always loved you. It's like, oh my goodness, because
And then I'm gonna
you've been
come back as an
conditioned
octopus
to
man.
not like this character because Shaun
Right.
doesn't like him. But then it turns out that, Phil's a good guy.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I come back as an octopus man.
Yes.
And the same with his mom, like at the end, like that the right thing is to kill her because she's going to turn into a zombie.
Right.
But it's hard for him. And it's the fact that one of the characters that is his antagonist is right that is conflicting for you as an audience member.
The least likable character in the whole thing. Right. Because he's just a complete prick.
But I love how the mom is always happy, like all the time. It's like, find out that she gets bitten by a zombie. She's like, oh, I didn't want to be a bother.
Yeah. Well, that's very much a comment on like sort of older people in Britain, and it's kind of how they are. They just try to be pleasant and all the time and everything. So. But
and then I love the part when Liz's friends, who is a wannabe actress, like tells them how to act like zombies because they gotta get
they get the one zombie pinned to the tree, and she's like, notice the blank expression with just a hint of melancholy or whatever.
They do that pan over. They like go through all of the all of our main characters and like see their zombie faces. And the big joke is like the mom is already like just zoned out. It's just looking off somewhere. Yeah.
So good. It's pretty funny. And then you get that one part when they meet up with Shaun's friend Yvonne, who is his space co-star.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
And then
everybody in her group is the mirror image of
like Bizarro World opposite. Yeah.
And then they get to the Ed character and they're both on their phone. They go, all right.
Yeah. That's another thing that Amy Nicholson pointed out, is that Shaun is not really the hero of this movie. Yvonne is the hero of the movie.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. She's the one that shows up at the end with the military.
Saves them all.
I forgot about that.
So
if she hadn't showed up, they would be dead. They would all be dead.
Right, exactly.
I totally forgot about the military part at the end.
Yeah. It makes you wonder, like, what would be the alternate version of this movie with that group of people?
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
Oh, Edgar Wright. Do it. Write the sequel. It'd be like
Dawn of Yvonne.
Yeah, it'll probably be like A Quiet Place Day One. You should get like a different perspective on it.
Right, exactly.
But I love the Queen "Don't Stop Me Down" scene. I think that is hilarious. Like, they're hitting the one zombie. And
this is what Edgar Wright does so well. I would love to see him do like a proper musical where people actually sing and stuff, because it seems like he's always wanted to, because so many of his movies have these memorable choreographed sequences, because in this scene, like, they're hitting the zombie with the pool cues and it's in the exact timing with the music.
And then movies, I think, has some sort of music, like music.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a whole movie of Baby Driver. That's essentially the hook of that movie. But then Pilgrim, like Last Night in Soho has that incredible dance sequence where it keeps switching back and forth between Anya Taylor-Joy.
Watching how they filmed that on the Blu-ray,
it's incredible.
Amazing.
Like, it's so precise.
Yeah, like just the fact that you had like Anya Joy in there, and then you had Thomas and McKenzie just off in the corner, crouched down, and then they would do like the Texas switch. And if you know what a Texas switch is, so I'll use an example, an Edgar Wright example. In the movie Hot Fuzz, they do a scene where Nick Angel jumps across a series of fences.
Yeah.
And so what they do is they got a stunt double to actually do the flipping, and then Edgar or Simon Pegg hit off.
Sean Penn. It'd be a very different movie.
Yeah, so he hit off in the
I'd watch that movie.
In the corner and just did like a bolt around.
Right.
Yeah, Yeah, so that's a type of switch. It's when you switch an actors, but in the same
Sure.
shot.
Yeah.
But those are the like it's you know it's part of the joke in that one is that it's clearly probably someone else because he coming
Right.
like the way they do
Right.
it in Last Night in Soho is almost seamless. It's so
It's really incredible.
yeah.
You expect that they're using some sort of visual effects, but no, it's just very simple tricks that have been around for decades and decades.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the fact that they hit their mark, that's astounding.
Yeah, you've got to really be on it. I mean, who knows how many takes it took them to get it exactly right.
Yeah.
Right. And then Shaun uses the Winchester rifle that the pub is named after.
Yeah.
Shoot the zombie and you keep missing. And I don't know about you, but that kind of reminded me of Evil Dead 2 a little bit. Just a little bit.
I could see that. Yeah.
Yeah, because
I'm sure Edgar Wright was. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, well, Edgar Wright seemed like a Evil Dead guy.
Oh, you know he is.
Yeah,
I mean, I think it's on one of his top 10 lists. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's such a nerd. He's such a nerd. So all these old like horror movies, he's one of those guys. He's got like a encyclopedic knowledge of film. Very similar to Tarantino in a lot of ways, and that he's always playing homage to something. You know,
yeah.
A lot of music. It plays an influence, just like in a lot of Tarantino movies. Yeah,
right.
They are like his is probably more stylized comedy, I guess. Tarantino's is a very most of his movies are comedies too, as I would argue at least. But yeah, these are more overt like comedies, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I love that. And then we'll have to call back to the video game scene where Shaun has had an intervention with Ed about him like actually giving a job and tidying up as he's playing like this first-person shooter game. He's like, "Oh, on your left, right behind you," and they kind of call back to that during the rival scene.
But that's another funny thing. It's commentary on very specifically British cultures because people in Britain don't have guns. Right. You know, they have very strict laws about it over there. Not even the cops carry guns over there.
Right.
And so nobody knows how to use a gun.
Right. Which is good because they don't have like mass things like we do.
I mean, yeah, I would tend to agree with you there. But it's just the way it is. It's just a very different culture.
Like that's all go to London.
Oh, you think I wouldn't live in the UK if I could? I would absolutely move to the UK in a heartbeat.
Yeah, I know you would.
Except I'd want to live in Scotland.
That'd be awesome, though.
With my people.
Yeah. Oh, you're Scottish? Let me know that.
I'm mostly Scottish.
Okay.
Yeah. A lot of English in there too, but I mean, I have a kilt and everything.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. I'm part German, I'm part Finnish.
Yeah, I've got some German on my mom's side.
Yeah. So that means I got Nosferatu, I got Christmas Lights, I got the band Scorpions, and I got all these.
Okay.
So that's good.
Okay.
I have no idea what my lineage is.
Okay.
Probably several forms of white British.
Yeah, that's a British name for sure.
Yep. But anyways, you guys got anything else you want to say about this movie before we get to the favorite part and least favorite part?
I don't think so. I think we've pretty well covered it.
It's wonderful. Okay. It's a wonderful film.
It is. It's very much.
Okay, Eric, what is your favorite part and then your least favorite part?
Favorite part's the editing. It's like all those like little montages. It's all those like repetition of jokes. Like all of the editing in this movie is like really good, especially for something as like straightforward. Like if anyone, so this movie, if you just made it like a straightforward like romantic comedy, it works. But it's all of these like little flourishes that kind of like make it pop. That's my favorite thing. It's the editing.
Well, this is why Ghostbusters worked, because it's already pretty funny because you got these really talented comedic actors, and then you got like funny people like writing this shit.
Sure, and it's just that visual comedy like Jackson was talking about earlier.
Yeah,
but it just so happens that these guys are Ghostbusters. So like what you said, it's a funny romantic comedy. It just so happens to be set during a zombie apocalypse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even
Yeah.
funnier,
It's a great elevator pitch for a movie. Like it's perfect setup.
right?
Mhm.
Like you sum it up in one sentence. Yeah.
Okay, what's your least favorite part?
Uh Man, I don't know. I've seen this movie a lot over the years. It's not my favorite Edgar Wright movie, but I also don't have a lot of faults with it for what it is. It's kind of perfect. It does everything it needs to do. I mean, if anything, like them getting saved in the end is a little Deus Ex Machina.
Mm,
They didn't earn their life that they live. They just happen to know somebody who shows up with the army. But
right.
so that may be my only nitpick. But
All
that's
right,
it.
Jackson.
It's similar to what Eric was saying. It's the overall style, and just I guess my favorite thing is that this movie launched the career of Edgar Wright like into the next level, because he'd had Spaced and stuff. Spaced is pretty good. I don't love it like some people do, but
Yeah.
this movie, like, because of this movie, we also get Hot Fuzz and The World's End and Scott Pilgrim and Last Night in Soho, and so yeah, I'd say that the style elevates the material in a big way because it's a good script, but it's a great movie because of the style.
All right,
And that's Edgar Wright all the way down.
and then what is your least favorite part?
When he throws the Dire Straits record.
Of course. Dude, Mark Knopfler, he's a really underrated guitar player.
And songwriter too. Like,
Oh yeah,
people talk about him as a guitar player, but man, his lyrics are incredible.
yeah, dude. Freaking the live version, live at Alchemy of Sultans and Swing. That guitar solo is amazing.
Yeah.
The fact that he's doing a lot of intricate stuff, but like the amount of control that he has over that,
And all with his fingers too. He's not
Yeah.
using a pick. He never uses a pick.
yeah,
It's all
Wild.
finger style.
Wild.
Right.
yeah, it's crazy.
It's crazy.
So that's not really.
I don't know why Christopher Walken showed up to the podcast, but it's crazy.
I really like that Mark Knopfler guy. Sultan the Swing. Wow, what an amazing song.
Okay.
Okay, my favorite part as a music fan, and particularly as a Prince fan, the vinyl record scene. It's when they go to the Prince album, that part especially. And then my least favorite part, I don't got none. This movie's amazing. Like generally,
it's really good movie. Yeah.
Yeah, like honestly, in my top 5, my top 3 favorite horror comedies, like Ghostbusters, Young Frankenstein, this movie, no, Beetlejuice. Now, let me start over. Okay, Ghostbusters, Beetlejuice, this movie, Young Frankenstein, and then Little Shop of Horrors. Even though
Little Shop of Horrors, that's way up there for me. I love that movie.
Yeah.
that movie's amazing.
I just wish they would restore the original ending on a Blu-ray release.
They do.
They did. They did finally. Yeah.
Is it worked into the movie or is it just a special feature?
You can watch either version.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't have that. I need to find that because I want to watch it with it integrated into the movie.
Here's the thing. I do love a giant monster just wrecking the city. I prefer the original ending. I like that happy ending for me.
I like because I've also seen it on stage, and on stage, of course, everybody dies and the plants take over. And
oh wow, how did they do that on stage? That's interesting.
It's with like puppets and stuff. I mean, it's staged, so they don't have to be realistic about it or anything.
Right.
Yeah,
it's
and
like
then there's a song. There's
a
song called "Don't Feed the Plants" that the stage musical ends with. Yeah,
it's a good number. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So now we're at score. And how we do our score is we each do our individual filmmaking in thematic score out of 5. And we add up those scores for the overall score out of a possible 10. Then we take those overall scores and we put them in the average calculator to get the official horror, sci-fi, and beyond score. And I'll start with you, Jackson. What is your filmmaking score?
Oh, filmmaking is an easy 5.
Okay.
Like, yeah, it's all there. It's Edgar Wright's style is on display from his very first movie. So,
Okay. Yep. What about a thematic score?
I mean, I don't think it's like a super deep movie. I think there's stuff to it, but I'd go like 3.5.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that means your overall score is 8.5. And give me 1 second. All right, Eric, what is your filmmaking score?
It's a 5 for many of the reasons we've already talked about. It's like a perfect visual comedy. But then as far as theme goes, it's probably a 3. They do enough with it. It's super straightforward. They do enough like little nuances, like the stuff with the dad and the mom, that work really well. That gives it just enough. So I'd say 3.
All right, cool. Yeah, basically the same thing for me. Filmmaking score is and then your overall score is 8. Sorry, I forgot to say that.
Yeah.
But anyways, same thing for me. Basically, filmmaking 5 because like Edgar Wright is cooking. Just the way that he's able to tell jokes, and like different types of jokes and different ways to tell a story, and I love that. I love that so much. The Amanda score, I'm gonna go at 3 because it's fair, about, being mindless, like zombies going about your day, and then, just like living a mediocre life, and then this thing happens, and you gotta kind of play the hero a bit. But you're just complete doofus, so that kind of like converts that a little bit, because he's not Rambo like at all, even though there is kind of a Rambo reference when he has the bandana on when he runs into zombies. So overall, it's going to be an 8, and that means the official for Sci-Fi and Beyond score for Shaun of the Dead is an 8.
Yeah,
that's not bad. It's really good.
We basically all agreed. Like, weird.
Yeah, that never happens. I will say, like, if you want the Cornetto movie, like I said earlier in the show, like the Cornetto movie that really digs deep on the theme is The World's End.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Like, that movie really gets to something, I think, pretty profound.
Yeah.
Hot Fuzz does a little bit, but it's more of a buddy movie.
Yeah, it's a little less deep than this movie even is, but I think it makes up for it in like a different style than this movie has.
Cool. Yeah, that's not a bad score. 8, man. That's good. That's really good.
Solid score.
All right, so now down to the modern horror movie Mount Rushmore.
In which we're all going to murder each other at the end.
Yes. So how this is going to work is we each pick 4 movies, and so
we throw them all into the goblet of fire.
Yep. So we throw them in the goblet of fire, and then out of those movies, we pick 4 to be in the ultimate horror movie Mount Rushmore for modern day horror movies. And
I wonder how many of us picked some of the same movies, though.
We probably did.
Because there's a lot less to choose from than we did the first. Because the first time we were doing like,
70 years,
8 or 9 decades, or something. Yeah. But this one we only have 20 years to pull from. So
I imagine some of them there'll be some overlap in here.
Yeah.
So it should be a little bit easier to do the ultimate one. But
I'm gonna predict. I'm gonna predict that two movies show up on everybody's list.
Yeah,
I kind of feel the same way,
and I bet you I could tell you which ones they're gonna be. I know one of them is probably definitely on all of our lists.
There's one. There's definitely one.
Okay,
maybe.
Yeah.
All right.
Maybe.
Well, let's see what happens.
Jackson, what movie do you want to throw in the goblet of fire first for your ultimate modern day horror movie Mount Rushmore?
The first movie I'm going to choose is 2004's Saw.
Ooh.
Not only because it launched a franchise that is still going,
Mm-hmm.
but because it launched the career of James Wan, who went on to create multiple horror franchises that are still going. Like, you know, he's the guy not only behind Saw, but he's behind the Conjureverse and he's behind Insidious.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I haven't really seen the Insidious movies, but I know that they're a big deal to a lot of people. And, you know, not to mention all his like one-offs that are really good. You know, you got stuff like Malignant. I don't really care for his action movies as much, except for, I don't know if y'all ever saw Death Sentence with Kevin Bacon.
I've seen Death Sentence.
Super cool
it's
movie.
Fun. It's fun. It's a fun movie for a
it's
movie
got
about
one
like
sequence
revenge
that takes place in a parking garage that is amazing.
Okay.
But yeah, so for those reasons, and also Lee Wannell. This is where we get stuff from him too, and of course he goes on to do Upgrade and The Invisible Man, and he's got a werewolf movie he's working on now.
Wolfman.
So this movie
it launched an entire subgenre that still kind of goes on to this day, like of like torture porn, basically.
I don't like that term. I don't think
I don't either
term, but as shorthand, I get what it means.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, this movie's I think it has to go on the Mount Rushmore just because of how influential it is.
Yeah, and he gave us an iconic villain with Jigsaw.
Yeah, who is one of the great villains.
Like the person's not iconic. The Billy puppets is what's iconic.
I don't know. I think that what's the guy's name? I can never. Tobin Bell. I think his performance is pretty iconic, which is why, you know, they killed that character off in the third movie, but then they realize, oh, we made a mistake. So now they have to keep
bringing him back,
finding ways to bring him back by creating this convoluted timeline that does not make any sense.
It's like the movies are like told out of order. So like 6 is before 3 or something. Crazy.
It's all crazy. Because they realize we have to have like Tobin Bell's performance as Jigsaw is one of the keys to the success of this franchise.
Right.
Which is why, you know, Spiral doesn't work as well. I thought Spiral was okay, but you know, you don't have that voice, you know, on the tapes and stuff. So
and then what a concept of this guy
it's very original.
He's dying of cancer and he's taking these people that like are not living life to the fullest or don't appreciate life or screwing over other people, and like basically saying, hey, like do this thing or you're dead. And it's like so demented. I like it. It's just, and I actually genuinely like the first Saw. Some of the other ones I'm probably never watched. I'll never watch because I don't like torture. I do want to watch the new one. That is on my.
I did not see that, and I'm regretting it. I still haven't seen. Yeah,
X may be the best one.
Really?
Compared to the first one, it's pretty good.
I've heard of people,
I would recommend. The only one I haven't seen.
Well, I've
there's one with like pigs that get slaughtered that I can't watch. Like it's it just turns my stomach just thinking about it.
There's some pretty gnarly stuff.
I've heard of people who like don't normally watch like these type of horror movies or just horror movies in general that would like watch it over their friend's shoulder. Saw X, that is, and be fully invested in the story. Like that's pretty amazing. All right, Eric, what is your first pick?
So along those same lines, I was trying to look at like different genres that kind of came up during this period that got really popular. And one of them was found footage, and it's not that I really particularly like that genre.
I did not choose any found footage,
but there is one movie in particular in there that not a lot of people have seen that they should watch, and it's super creepy. It's called a movie called Lake Mungo, and it's from Australia.
Okay, I've seen that.
And it's kind of like a mystery that just kind of gets creepier and creepier as it goes. And it's got one of like the creepiest like images near the end of the movie. It's great as far as like a found footage movie goes. It's much better than any of the Paranormal Activity movies, or any of the other like knockoff like The Last Exorcism, any of those like found footage movies that were really popular in the mid 2000s. So I picked Lake Mungo, even though it's probably going to get knocked off. I put it out there.
Yeah, for a second there, I thought you were gonna say Wreck.
I almost picked Wreck. It was between Wreck and Lake Mungo, but I think Lake Mungo is a scarier, or it's a creepier movie to me than Wreck is. Wreck may be scarier, but it's also kind of like zombie-esque, and I don't know. So I went back and forth on that one.
Yeah, well, that's another one that people don't really talk about.
Sure, yeah.
Well, of course, Wreck, you know, they made a bunch of those, didn't they?
Yeah, there's like 3 of them at least, and a remake.
Okay. Yeah, I've seen the remake, but I've never seen the original. I mostly watched the remake because it had Jennifer Carpenter in it, and I like her.
Sweet. For my first one, I gotta go with probably The Exorcist of this generation, the movie that when it came out, so many people made fun of, like The Exorcist, and that is gonna be Jordan Peele's Get Out.
I knew this was going to be on here.
Yes.
I knew that was one of the ones that would pop up.
Like Saul, what a concept. That this family had an entire history of kidnapping Black people because they think they're more athletically inclined, removing their brain, and then putting it into like the head of white people so they can get their athletic ability. What a concept.
It's a truly insane concept.
Yeah. And
I'll go ahead and spoil it. Like, this is on my list as well. This is one of the ones I was predicting might show up on all 3 of ours. But yeah, it's crazy to think that, because I had watched Key and Peele, the sketch show, which is very funny. But when I heard that Jordan Peele had a horror movie coming out, I was like, wait, what? And then when it turned out to actually be really good, and then won a bunch of awards and made a bunch of money and became a phenomenon, like, it sort of blew my mind a little bit. It's like, wait, the guy that's like pitching all the weird ideas for Gremlins 2 in that sketch is actually kind of a like genius director.
It's so good.
But he had a genuine love of horror. Like, it's not.
Yeah.
He didn't start making horror movie because it's the cool thing to do. Like, he.
Right, exactly.
Sure.
And you can, when you watch Key and Peele, like, the filmmaking on those sketches are really good. And a lot of them do play with horror tropes.
Yeah.
They love doing that sort of stuff on that show.
Yes.
So.
I always think of the one sketch where the guy goes to visit his like parole officer, and the parole officer has a puppet, little homie, and talks to him, and just the turns in that, like, it's I mean, most horror movies are just about turns and reveals and all that sort of stuff, and so it's just like just keeps getting crazier and crazier. And this movie is kind of in like lesser hands would have kind of probably been bad in some ways because it gets so crazy, but he like balances all of that stuff really well.
Yeah, and he just keeps getting better. Like, I think Nope is his best movie. You know.
Oh yeah.
And he's one of those guys that now I'm just gonna go see anything that he makes.
Oh, absolutely. Well, that's the thing about this movie, and I mean, I won't delve in too deep into this, but I like how it really it taught me personally that racism comes in all different forms. It's not just one race of people hates another race of people because of color of their skin. It can be stereotyping people, because even if it's positive, even if you think it's positive, like saying all Black people are great athletes, that in your mind can be positive, but to them, like, it can be like you're just putting them in this little box.
Right, exactly.
And you're just
it's all that.
Yeah, you're just assuming because they're Black, they're good at sports.
Right.
Or they're good at rapping or whatever.
Yeah. And it's that liberal sort of that skewering of like white liberal America at the top that kind of works into that too, is that that racism isn't just blatant anymore. Like, it's all that stuff about Bradley Whitford who's saying like I would have voted for Obama for like a third
Right.
term
It's
and all
very
that's
like pandering and demeaning in a different way.
Right, and the thing about it
Mhm.
was when I first watched this movie, I thought all that stuff was complete bullshit. I thought they were like legit, like blatantly racist. Like they wanted to
Yeah.
back to slavery.
Mhm.
Again, and that's why they had like the two black caretakers.
Mhm.
But it turned out, oh no, they actually kind of admire black people a little bit, and this is why.
Yeah, that's just grandma and grandpa. They're literally part of the family.
Yeah.
So
Wild.
Yeah, no, I love that. I love that. I thought, like, when I found that out, I'm like, God dang it, Jordan Peele, you are a fucking genius. And
It's great.
if I didn't love you before, I'd love you even more. And then just every time I see him in an interview talking about horror movies, I'm like, dude, I love you even more. Because you're on Conan O'Brien, you're talking about, like, the genius of John Carpenter's Halloween,
mhm.
how, like, the subtlety of that movie, it's like the scariest thing ever. Like, man, like I just love this guy. Like he seems like a genuinely good dude too. Like very laid back.
Mm.
Didn't like
Everybody says he's like one of the most chill people in the whole world.
Mhm.
yeah.
Mhm.
Fun fact about this movie, and then we'll move on. Um, so the part when they're at the dinner table and you first meet the brother for the first time,
Mhm.
and they're all laughing. That was like the last thing they shot that day. And so everybody was kind of cranky. So Jordan Peele ended up doing his Barack Obama impression to get everybody to laugh.
Mm.
That was
Nice.
pretty funny. All right, Jackson,
the,
what's
the
your
one sort of setback to that is, now that we have Jordan Peele the director, we've kind of lost Jordan Peele the actor.
yeah.
Yeah.
But oh well, I'll take it. I
Yeah.
I love his movies.
He
Wait,
still does some voice work. He does a lot of stuff on like
Mhm.
Bob's Burgers and whatnot.
I thought that he should have played adult Mike in the It movies. I thought he would have been the perfect choice for that. I mean, the guy they got was fine, but
Yeah.
I was really campaigning as much as I can campaign for that sort of thing. I was just like, man, Jordan Peele should play Mike. Anyway.
Mm.
All right, so before we move on, you did put Get Out on your list, right, Jackson?
Yeah, Get Out is on my list.
What about you, Eric?
I didn't put it on there because I figured you two were going to pick it, and I wanted to throw some cogs. And
Yeah,
I wanted to throw some wrenches into the wheels.
I could always pick something else real
No,
quick.
it's locked. It's locked. It's locked. It's locked.
Well,
okay.
Whatever. It's just going to make it less interesting.
You wanted to go next.
Well, okay. So this one also might be, I would guess this one is probably on Drew's, but Eric, since I know he's trying to be contradictory, I guess it won't be on his. But I've got to go with my heart here and pick the Babadook.
Ooh, it's not on mine. Surprisingly.
Eric, is it on yours?
It's I'm gonna say no, it's not on mine.
I felt really weird like picking these because
I
didn't want to pick the obvious ones, but the obvious ones are so obviously the right choices. Like
very good, yes.
But the Babadook, I mean, when when this movie came out, it was 10 years ago at this point. When this came out, we didn't have the term elevated horror yet, which is kind of a bullshit term. It's sort of like, torture porn. It's kind of a garbage term. It's more useful as a shorthand, but I mean, horror has always had elevated, The Exorcist is elevated horror.
Frankenstein is elevated horror.
Sure. Yeah.
Girl 2 is elevated horror.
What is?
Girl 2.
Okay. But yeah, horror movies have always like explored really, deep themes and everything. It's just, it's built into the genre. It doesn't have to, but no genre has to have like depth to it, But this is the movie that I think right around this time is when that term starts to be used, because you have other stuff, and maybe somebody picks some of these, but you have stuff like It Follows and Hereditary and those kind of movies. Basically, this what A24 makes now. But I feel like the wave of that started with this movie.
Oh, absolutely.
Although, when did It Follows come out? Was that before or after?
I think it was after. I think it was
Yeah, it
2015.
was after. It was like 2015, 2016,
Okay.
something like that.
Okay. But yeah, I mean, and I'm not somebody that like, I don't find movies scary. I love horror movies, but I'm not afraid, when I watch them. This movie came pretty close to scaring me. When I went to go see it in the theater, and I was just like gripping the armrests of my chair, particularly
Oh
during
yeah,
that
me too. When I saw
that
this
final sequence where
yeah.
she's finally, getting rid of the Babadook, or trying to, because you can't get rid of the Babadook. That's the thing. I don't know. It's just, and it makes me wonder, like, why hasn't Jennifer Kent become more of a thing?
Yeah. She's only made like one movie since
she
then.
did one other movie, The Nightingale, which is
Mhm.
not a horror movie. It's like a revenge movie, Western kind of thing. And then she's done like shorts. I think she did one of the like Guillermo del Toro Cabinet of Curiosities episodes, and she's done little things here and there. Maybe did like a Black Mirror or something. I don't remember. But
yeah, well, she was a failed actress, wasn't she, right? And then she did this.
Oh, I don't know. But what's the main lady's, like, is it Ellie something or
Essie Davis?
Essie, yeah, Essie Davis. Like,
her name is Essie. It's not, her initials are not SC.
Right, yeah, Essie.
Necessarily fine.
Like, what a brilliant performance from an actor that I had never seen before. And she just comes out and owns that movie. And I know a lot of people complain. It's like, well, the kid's annoying. I'm like, yes, that's the point.
It does such a good reversal too, where you were on the kid's side, man.
He's a really hard kid to deal with, and that's part of why this woman is losing her mind, is because she's all alone trying to take care of this really problem child. So I don't know. It's such a great movie. The atmosphere is incredible.
Yeah.
And I couldn't imagine doing a horror Mount Rushmore the last 20 years without the Babadook.
Yeah, for sure. And Essie Davis, that's my favorite horror movie performance of all time.
I don't blame you. It's just incredible.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Like, I think she does what Jack Nicholson does in The Signing, where he was good. I love Jack in The Signing, but like, he was more kind of goofy. Essie Davis is fucking terrifying in this movie. Like, it's not funny at all. But layer to the performance, you got a woman who's broken, who's slowly going crazy, and then turned into Jack Torrance from The Signing.
Right. Plus the Babadook itself. What a well-designed, like, amazing villain or entity or whatever you want to call it.
Whatever we'll call it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now,
so good.
I love this movie. The reason it did not go on my list was I don't think it was innovative enough. I don't think it was a real big game changer as much as some of the other ones I had on my list.
Okay, fair enough.
That's just my personal opinion. I love this movie. If I'm going like personal favorites, then hell yeah, it's going on the list for sure, without a shadow of a doubt.
I think I'm doing it mostly because of how iconic the Babadook itself has become.
Oh, it is.
And it's become like a queer icon and stuff, which is very strange. But it's like, okay, cool. All right, can't get rid of the Babadook.
Yeah, exactly.
The only reason I didn't pick it, because it was on my list. The only reason I took it off was because I knew someone else would pick it, and so I'm just trying to keep it interesting. But I love the Babadook. It's one of my favorite horror movies ever.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, when I first watched this movie, like, Hugh Jackson, like, just completely engrossed the entire time, and I had my blanket covered from my neck to my toes the entire time. And I'm not even exaggerating. Like, as soon as this movie started, like, I'm like, oh my god, this is some serious shit. And it's one of those movies, like a Zodiac, like a Northman, where as soon as the movie was over, other than me being like just scared out of my mind, I'm like, oh my god, I just witnessed something amazing. Like I
Right.
witnessed a fucking masterpiece.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I felt when I watched like movies like Zodiac or The Northman. I just witnessed, like, I just had an experience. Like, not only is this movie scary, but like it's also emotionally draining, which is why I
And you
can't
didn't
watch
pick
it.
it, but you did pick it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just yeah, I
They
just
say
felt,
geniuses pick green. Oh, but you didn't pick it.
but no, I don't think it really like some of the other movies. I don't think it really like I don't think it really like changed like a lot. Like it was like horror different from here on out. Like
I guess I think I just put it because it comes at the beginning of this wave that we're still
oh yeah,
riding of like the sort of A24 type horror that's a little bit more high-minded and serious. And yeah.
right. And I wanted to be a little bit different,
Yeah.
somewhat different, because I do have a big surprise on here, which you probably guys won't see coming.
I've got one that I think deserves to be on this list, but it's probably going to get vetoed.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've got
Even
a
though
couple.
I think you both like
I've got
it, but
two like that. Yeah.
Right.
yeah.
What about you, Eric? What's your number 2 or your second one you want to throw in the goblet of fire?
So the second one I'm gonna throw in there, like during this time period, there was like I guess post 2000s, there was a lot of like PG-13 horror movies out there. They were kind of aiming towards a younger audience, and most of them are hot trash. There's a lot of just like terrible. They'd usually dump them in January, and they were just to bring. They still make them. They still make like Night Swim. They make those things every year.
Imaginary. Yeah.
But
Right,
once
right.
in a while, you'll get a Megan, which was like the biggest thing in horror.
Right. Right. And along those same lines, the next one I picked was a horror comedy. And the main reason I picked it is because it was probably at the time the closest thing we were ever going to get to a sequel, and it's Drag Me to Hell with
Oh, nice.
Alison
Okay.
Lohman, Sam Raimi.
That's a good choice.
It's a horror comedy. It's real kind of silly. But it treats its subject matter fun. I don't know. It's a good time. I saw it in theaters when it came out and
Of course you
just
did.
laughed the entire time. And there was teenagers in the theater with me. I remember seeing, because I went with like one other buddy who loved the Sam Raimi Evil Dead movies. And there was teenagers in the movie, and they didn't know what was going on because like once they started dancing, it was like, what is happening? Like it doesn't make any sense. It's not scary, but it's also funny. I don't know. I love it. I picked Drag Me to Hell.
Right.
That's definitely one that if you haven't like watched like Evil Dead movies and stuff, you're not gonna know what's hit you.
Yeah.
Well,
but at the time, we weren't going to get any more Evil Dead movies like Sam Raimi, and they were like, we're hanging it up. We're not doing any more of them. So this was like the closest you were ever probably maybe get to like another one. So
yeah, and he was coming off of like doing the Spider-Man movie.
Spider-Man, yeah, it's like a return to his roots almost.
Yeah,
but with like a bigger budget.
Yeah, but then he went back to do, it's like Oz the Great and Powerful and stuff like
big budget Disney movies.
Yeah.
Right,
I don't know.
And that's the thing about those Evil Dead movies is like the first one, that's more traditional horror, but there's a little bit of camp to it. And we talked about this. We
did like 2 hours on these movies.
And then the second one is pure camp, and then like the third one is even more just camp.
Third one's a Monty Python movie without Monty Python.
Yeah, so I feel like that would be like a spiritual successor because like you're kind of easing yourself into that kind of Sam Raimi kind of world, and then this is a bit different, but still that kind of Evil Dead Sam Raimi kind of signature.
Yeah.
All right, ready for my next one?
Do it.
I'll save the weird one for last. And so my next one is something we kind of touched upon with the Babadook, where it kind of led into kind of the A24 era of horror, and they were kind of doing some stuff before, but I feel like this movie was the big one. Like, if I said that Get Out was this generation's Exorcist as far as like cultural like residents, this is definitely The Exorcist as far as like scary goes, and that is no other than Ari Aster's Hereditary,
Mm.
because you could not go a minute without them talking this movie without talking about the headless scene.
Yeah, this movie manages to make a telephone pole scary.
Yes,
Yeah.
and scary too. Like, now I'm terrified of ants. I used to love ants when I was a kid. I used to sit outside for hours and watch ants crawl up and down the hill.
Oh my
It was just so fascinating. But now ants fucking terrify me.
Yeah. Now he sees that head. Now he sees a kid's head. Decapitated kid head.
And but other than it being like extremely disturbing and scary, this movie is really emotionally draining, like the Bubba.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the most terrifying scenes is just them yelling at each other over dinner.
Yeah.
You know? And Toni Collette, like the madness in her eyes during that scene is absolutely
really
incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, then, I've heard Doug Walker talk about this movie when it first came out, the nostalgia critic, and he said that, like, this movie kind of touched upon that whole idea of like you should say what is really inside of you, how you really feel, because people are just going to be more angry if you don't, or it's going to be it's going to be more toxic relationship. This movie is like, maybe you should say some of this stuff. It's too real.
You just keep some of this inside. Yeah.
And that's what Ari Aster does, though. He takes these very internal things and externalizes them. Beau is Afraid being the absolute pinnacle of him doing that, where that movie's just one long therapy session.
One long panic attack, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I will say this about Hereditary is that unlike a lot of these movies during this A24 time, where like their conclusion is very shrouded in mystery, it's like, was it that? Is it really real? Like, this one just full on commits for that third act and just like all in. There's like, yep, there's some weird stuff happening. People gonna saw their heads off. Like, there's naked bodies outside. Like, we're not even gonna tiptoe around it. It's for sure happening.
Naked bodies.
It's pretty wild, because the first time I saw the movie, oh my gosh. The first time I saw the movie, I didn't remember it actually showing the head make contact with the telephone pole, but it totally does.
Oh yeah.
But it's so quick you might miss it. But the thing about that scene that makes it so great is that it never shows the headless body. It just shows him, and he sort of almost looks in the rearview mirror, but then he doesn't. Then he just drives home and gets in his bed and waits for somebody else to find the body.
Well, I'll tell you what.
And it is absolute terror without showing you anything overtly scary. It's just showing a kid drive home and go to bed.
What really fucks me up about this scene is Toni Collette's reaction when
because you don't see it, you just hear it off in the distance.
Oh, God.
And
I can't imagine being a parent and
Toni Collette, I can't believe that she's never like won an Oscar.
And she's gonna be in the new Bong Joon-ho movie, Mickey 17.
The trailers are out for that now. I need to go watch it.
Dude, it looks hilarious.
Because I love me some Bong, and I love me some Robert Pattinson.
Yeah, the best Batman, the best live action Batman, in my opinion. All right, Jackson, what's your third pick?
Well, it was going to be Get Out.
You can do Get Out.
We already talked about Get Out.
If you want to do Get Out, you can do Get Out.
Well, but we already talked about it. I mean, I could pick something else.
If you really want to do, well, I've already done one that you've done, and I'm not going to change that.
I don't know. Okay, I'll just say Get Out is my third.
Whatever you want to do, Jackson. It doesn't matter.
Well, it would take me a second to go through my list.
Okay.
So
you want me to go? I can go and you can think
Yeah,
about
okay. I'll find something else, and that way we have more to argue about.
Yeah,
it. Sure.
absolutely. I just have not seen a lot of 2000s and 2010s horror movies. I think
Oh, I've seen a
I
lot of them.
started to get my
They're not
driver's
all of them are
license. I
great.
can go to more
Hmm.
movies. So, but yeah.
All right. So Eric, you do yours, and then
Sure.
I'll come back to me.
So along the same lines that Jackson was talking about with like these sort of extreme movies that started popping up around this time, like the Saws of the world. There was one that came out like sort of on the waning years that is just as extreme as some of those, but I think there's just enough there's like so much nuance in it that I just kind of love. And a lot of people do not like this movie, so this is y'all probably gonna hate this one, but did y'all ever see a movie called Green Room, directed by Jeremy
Yes.
I
Solinger?
never did see that. I wanted
Mm,
to, and then I just never got around to it.
Oh, I put
it's
it
a
in
movie.
Green Day, not Green Room.
Oh no, not Green Day. Green Room.
But still
Green Room
punk
is
rock.
yeah, and it's such a terrifying setup for a movie where where basically people get in over their heads and then they can't get out of the situation, and no one is treated as heroes. Everyone's treated as like real people, which is even more scarier and more messed up whenever people start dying. And like some of the stuff, oh man, like Anton Yelchin's really good in it, but like when he like there's a scene where with a revolver, and I won't go into details if y'all haven't seen it, but like so much good
I've
stuff.
seen it.
And
I just don't remember.
Patrick Stewart is absolutely terrifying as this head neo-Nazi. Great stuff. I love it. It's a movie that's a little divisive because people either love or hate it. I love it. So I pick Green Room.
All right, sweet. All right, do you have your third pick, Jackson?
Yeah, okay. I'm gonna go. This one's maybe not as big as some of the other ones, but looking at my list of, I wanted to pick another one from the 2010s because I think that's got the best representation as far as good horror goes. Because the 2000s, it was kind of a fallow period, and we're not deep enough into the 2020s to really know where it's going. So I am gonna go with, I want to give some love to our friends overseas. So I'm going to pick the Korean film Train to Busan.
Ooh, great one. Great one.
Like, so zombie movies, they're they all they're all kind of the same at the end of the day, horde of cannibalistic, undead
Mm-hmm.
coming at you. Train to Busan on its face is not doing anything remarkably different except for the setting, because you're on a high-speed train. But it manages, through just sheer like character work and the way that the set pieces are staged, it manages to really make the genre feel fresh again. And not only that, but by the end of the movie, it's so emotionally satisfying because like all these characters have these sort of beautifully done character arcs, and that's something you don't always get in a horror movie. I mean, the best ones you do, but like a horror movie that can actually make you cry at the end, it's a pretty amazing accomplishment.
Oh
And
yeah, like
Yeah.
Babadook is like that for me.
Babadook is like that a lot. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, when I watched it for review, um, like I was almost in tears. It was just so beautiful.
Yeah. But Train to Busan, and I only saw it for the first time like last year. I mean, I don't guess it's been around. It's been out that long, but man, it just hit me like a brick. And yeah, it's one of those that's like, people don't need to sleep on it, because I did. When it came out, I remember people talking about it, and I was like, I don't know, zombie movies are all kind of the same. It's like, no, this one's actually pretty different, just in the way that it approaches its story.
Right, sweet.
Yeah.
All right, and then it's my turn. Oh, did you want to say anything about it, Eric? I'm sorry.
It's a great pick. I have nothing else to say.
Yeah, and then well, the other thing I wanted to say about it is it kind of goes into like horror as a bigger metaphor.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this kind of talked about class system
Right.
for sure.
Mhm.
And honestly, the first and only time I watched this movie was the year of COVID
Yeah.
and all that
Mhm.
ridiculousness of how different people were reacting to it, and
Sure.
just going through this emotional journey with this father and this child,
Mm-hmm.
and then the father dies, and then your last scene is the child walking out of the wreckage, singing, and then you have like the sniper, and I'm like, oh my god,
Yeah.
do not kill the kid, do
Mhm.
not kill the fucking kid. And then she starts singing the Aloha song, and I'm like, yes, do
Yeah.
not kill the kid.
Music saves lives.
Yeah.
Saved hers.
All
But
right.
then
Sorry,
I
spoilers if
also
no one has
think
seen
of the
this.
shot where like the train is like slowing down or whatever, and you see all the zombies, like it's that overhead shot,
Mm,
and all the zombies are running
Mhm.
towards the train, and
yeah.
it's just amazing visual
Well,
storytelling.
Yeah.
this does that thing like in Song of the Dead where it kind of builds up to it. Because doesn't
Mhm.
like a bird die or something like that in the beginning of the
But
movie?
no, it's just like one guy gets on the train, or a woman,
Yeah.
I can't remember if it's a man or a woman,
Mhm.
gets on the train and is like infected or something like that.
No, I think there was like a hint at something at the very beginning before any of that.
Oh, that's right. There's like a truck. Uh and I can't remember what it is.
I can't remember either. I know what you're talking about. There's like a truck and there's like a little prologue scene that
Yeah.
kind of like sets up the world. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not funny.
Man,
No.
South Korea, man, they put out some of the best stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What a great film industry over there.
yeah, for sure. Now, for my next pick, it's one that was picked already, Saul.
Mm.
So now unless
Mm.
anybody has anything else they want to say about it, we can move on.
No,
I
I
mean, it's a
almost
pretty
picked it as
natural
well.
choice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I almost,
I
yeah.
feel like this was like the new era of horror, even though
Mm-hmm.
like torture genre did had this time for a while. They
Mm-hmm.
still don't really make those a whole lot anymore, but like
Yeah.
it ushered into that new kind of era.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Plus, like, I remember when it came out because horror, it was all like, sort of Scream inspired, like teen slashers
Mm-hmm.
and stuff like that. I mean, then there was like ghost stuff, like The
with, like, one of
Ring, like a
those-
lot of like remakes of Japanese movies.
Japanese. Yeah. Yeah.
And then Saw comes along and it's so different from anything anybody else is doing. So, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Who want to go next?
Well, I guess it's me again.
Okay.
So my final choice, and this may be a little controversial, maybe not though, but I gotta go with Megan.
Yes.
I love this movie so much. It just, and I know it's like sort of more kid friendly, like PG-13 horror. I mean, the unrated cut has a couple extra shots added in of like gore and like a couple extra F words or whatever. But just the fact that Megan immediately became an iconic villain just from the trailer.
Yeah.
Like the trailer came out and already everybody's a buzz about this Megan doll that does this weird TikTok dance before she kills somebody with a paper cutter blade. I don't know. I don't really have that much to say about it. Drew and I, we were on Fear of God and we did a really good discussion about this movie because I do think it gets to some deeper things than maybe would people would expect, about
Of course.
not only a relationship with technology, but relationships between people and how sometimes technology can be a hindrance to those things.
Right.
Which is very timely for the world we live in now.
Mm.
But I'm mainly picking it because the very second I saw it, I was like, oh, Megan is an icon, an immediate icon. And I want to watch every single sequel just over and over. I want nothing but Megan sequels until the end of time.
I want a
Maybe
Megan
we'll
and
get it.
Chucky crossover. That would be fucking amazing.
I don't know. I feel like that would be a little too much, but plus it probably wouldn't be with a crossover with Chucky. It would probably be a crossover with the Mark Hamill Buddy doll from the Child's Play remake.
Yeah, maybe.
Because that's a technology based villain, whereas Chucky is all about like magic and voodoo and stuff.
But do you have anything else do you have anything you want to say, Eric?
Yeah, it's great. It's a good pick. As far as like the newest ones, that's one of the ones that I had toyed with the idea of like looking at. Just because it's like the story itself is nothing kind of new, but like it's got all the right elements that like I'm really excited for a sequel to kind of like do something completely brand new with that idea and that character. So,
and it's one of those like dump-you-worry movies you were talking about. But it's but like so many of those they just come and go and nobody cares. But Megan is like here to stay now. Yeah,
fine wine. It's a piece of cake. Yeah, good.
All right, Eric, what's your next one, or what's your last one?
My last one, it also plays along because there's a big explosion of like South Korean films during this time, like Jackson was talking about. So my last pick is The Host, which is Bong Joon-ho's like first movie that I'd seen from him, and really kind of like blew my mind of what like a monster movie could be in some ways when it came out.
I almost picked The Host.
Yeah,
it's so great.
It's so good. Like it has one of the most like depressing and like kind of hopeful endings in a movie that I think I've ever seen. I don't know. I love it. It's really good. If you haven't seen it, watch it.
What's the name of the actor? Is it like Song Kang-ho or something? I can't ever remember his name.
I can't remember his name.
He's the guy that's in like all the Bong Joon-ho movies.
It is Song Kang-ho,
yeah. What he's amazing. I mean,
wonderful.
Go watch anything he's in, like, you know, Memories of Murder, Thirst. He's really good, like, because he gets the real lead role in that movie. But yeah, The Host is cool. Because you go watch it because you just want to see the monster, like, you know, rampage. But most of the movie is not about that. Most of the movie is like this sort
of uninterested in the monster for the most part.
Family drama, you know. But it's also so funny, like when everybody is like, because the girl's been taken by the monster, so everybody thinks she's dead, and the family just starts crying, and then they all fall on the floor, and it's just this exaggerated crying scene. It's just, and it goes on for so long that by the end you can't help but laugh. It's the only way to process it.
So good.
I haven't seen this one yet. And
you haven't seen it? You should watch it for your Halloween this year. It's a great,
it's really good.
Spooky, like
I went to this. I saw that in the theater actually.
Awesome.
It's so good. I haven't seen it since, I don't think. So it's been what, 18
I haven't watched it.
I
haven't probably watched it in probably 5 years before the pandemic. I'd be interested to see what it was like after the pandemic now, because there's a lot of like, you know, using a lot of toxic chemicals, and
it's another one with a really haunting prologue. Because they're in that lab, and the guy, he's got all these chemicals, and the guy's just like, his supervisor comes in and is like, just dump it down the drain.
So good.
All right, you ready for my last one?
Let's do it.
So this next movie is very much a product of the pandemic, because they shot this other movie and then they have to take a break from it because of the pandemic, and they decided to come up with a whole nother movie, and that movie is Ty West's Pearl. And this is the one I said was kind of like the weird one that you were not expecting. And it's the fact that they did that. It's the fact that they took this dual role of being a goth, playing Pearl, and then playing Maxine and X. And then now, in the middle of them on their break because of the pandemic, decide to make a whole other movie to come up with onto the backstory of Pearl.
It's pretty wild, yeah.
Like I actually got genuinely confused. Like I saw this movie Pearl, I'm like, what? And then
Yeah.
people were saying like, because I didn't seen X yet. I haven't seen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And so people were saying, oh, it's the prequel to X, and then Mia Goth is Pearl. And then when I watched X, I got real confused because I thought her Maxine character was Pearl, but then I found out, oh no, she played both characters.
That's the crazy thing. And then obviously we're not talking about X, but I actually like X more than Pearl, but that's because the Texas Chainsaw fan in me.
Yeah. Obviously.
But it's pretty crazy. And A24 was just like, sure, cool. Because they didn't, it's like you already had the set.
Yeah.
You just had to dress it differently. And
find a couple period clothes.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of just make it. Yeah. I really like Mia Goth in Pearl. I don't quite love the movie itself, but
Oh, she's doing some brilliant work. I didn't get to see Maxine. It sucks. I was gonna go see it, but I had a choice. I could go see that or Long Legs, and I figured Long Legs would be the one that would be gone first.
Yeah,
but Long Legs turned out to be a surprise hit and
Yeah.
stuck around. And then Maxine was gone the next week, and I didn't get to see it. So
Maxine's is fun. It's probably the weakest of those three.
Yeah. That's what I hear. But
Pearl's my personal favorite. I just think it was just so different than any of them.
Yeah. I can see why. I mean, it's definitely got a whole stylistic thing going on.
And all it's that Technicolor cinematography, yeah.
And it's very different from, well, the thing about Ty West as a director is you can't really say what is Ty West's style. He's kind of a chameleon, because you watch something like House of the Devil versus The Innkeepers, and he's doing something completely different in both.
Right. Ways. And he made like a found footage movie. Like,
he made a found
Sacrament. Yeah.
I didn't see that.
It's okay. It's probably his weakest movie, but
yeah. Right.
And then I'll turn around and do a segment for like VHS or something like that,
Yeah.
All right, guys. So before we get to the ultimate modern horror movie, Mount Rushmore, you just want to just recap our picks real quick?
Yeah, I don't remember what y'all picked.
Yeah. So I'll go with you, Eric. Just list all the ones.
So I picked Green Room, Drag Me to Hell, Lake Mungo, and The Host.
All right, Jackson.
All right, I picked Saw, The Babadook, Train to Busan, and Megan.
And then I picked Get Out, Saw, Pearl, and Hereditary.
Hereditary, yeah.
So the ones that we have to go through are Get Out, Saw, Pearl, Hereditary, Lake Mungo, The Babadook, Drag Me to Hell, Green Room, Train to Busan, and Megan.
Okay.
So I guess do you want to do what we did last time, where we each get to pick one that automatically goes out, and then we'll pick one that goes in, and then we'll argue the last one, or the last one we have left.
Yeah. Sure.
All right, Jackson. Out of these ones, which one is gotta
go? Sorry, Eric. I am taking out Lake Mungo.
That's fine. I figured it was going to be the one that was going to go first.
Honestly, like, it had some scenes that I really liked, but overall, I got really bored watching. It's not a long movie, but it felt like it went on and on and on and on and on forever. Yeah. And I ultimately didn't really care for it. Even though I do agree, that one shot at the end is very haunting, but it just seems like you have to get through so much very uninteresting stuff to get there.
That is fair.
So, all right. So sorry, Lake Mungo, you're out.
So long.
All right, what about you, Eric?
You're gonna hate me, Drew. I'm gonna throw out Pearl. Because I think it's
you mad about that?
I think it's I love her character. I love the way it's shot and everything, but the movie itself feels just kind of like a movie I've seen many times about like someone who just really wants to make it and they kind of go crazy. There's a movie called Starry Eyes that's kind of the same way. There's like several other movies about like someone trying to make it in Hollywood, but sorry, I'm gonna throw Pearl out.
Yeah. Ooh, okay. This is a tough one because I think I'm gonna have to go Green Room.
Okay.
It's a good
Everybody's
movie,
ganging up on Eric.
but I
It's
just
okay.
don't think it had the impact as some of these other movies.
Yeah, like I said, I didn't see it. I saw the guy's first movie, Blue Ruin. He was doing
Blue
a whole
Ruin's
color
really good.
thing for a while.
Yeah.
Has he made anything since Green Room?
He made a movie recently called Rebel Ridge. It is pretty good. It's like a straightforward, like sort of like small town action movie.
Okay.
With like Don Johnson in it. It's pretty good. I watched
Okay.
it over the weekend. Yeah.
All right, Jackson, which one of these do you want to put in automatically?
I think the choice is pretty obvious here. You got to have Saw in there.
Yes. Yeah.
It was the one that like, two of us actually included it, and Eric almost did anyway.
Mhm.
And it's one of the most influential, not only with the franchise itself, but just that it launches the careers of James Wan and Lee Wanell. And, you know, those two, they're two of the biggest names in the genre, particularly James Wan. And James Wan's got his hands in everything.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Even if he's not directing, like he's a big.
I mean, and he doesn't just make horror movies. He made like a Fast and the Furious movie. He did Aquaman, which that's the James Wan stuff I don't really engage with. I much prefer him as a horror director, but you know, the fact that he's gotten to do so many big things, and it all goes back to Saw. So I think you have to have Saw in this list.
What about you, Eric? You wouldn't read them off to you?
No, I mean I'm just gonna pick the Babadook because I'm gonna put it on my list. So I'm just gonna pick the Babadook. Yeah.
All right. Give me a second. Yeah, I think for the one I have to pick for my last, or for my one that has the guy going here, I gotta go Get Out. Like no movie last decade, no horror movie the last decade has been as culturally like in that zeitgeist, like An Exorcist, where people like when people were doing comedy sketches of this movie, like people were doing comedy bits for The Exorcist when that was coming out. Like that's how big this movie got, and the fact that a comedian, someone who's emotionally known for comedy, is doing horror, that's pretty amazing.
I feel very vindicated right now because that was one of my original picks. Yeah, that was one of my original picks, and so 3 of my original picks are now on the Mount Rushmore, which means I know what I'm talking about.
Okay. All right.
So now we got to fight over what's going to get the last slot.
What is the last pick?
Right, yeah. And before we do that, I'll just read off what we have left. We have Hereditary, Drag Me to Hell, Train to Busan, Megan, and The Host. So let's just take one off, each of us.
Okay.
So I'll start with you, Jackson. Which one is going?
Okay, so what was it again? It's Train to Busan, The Host, Hereditary, Megan, and what's the last one?
Drag Me to Hell.
Drag Me to Hell. This is tough. So what we already have up is Get Out, the Babadook, because I'm trying to like make this a sort of diverse list as much as we can. So we've got like a torture movie, we've got a sort of supernatural elevated horror, we've got the sort of social commentary, you know, slash
a cultural splash too.
Exactly. Yeah. So what can go in that? What can not go in that final slot? I'm afraid. As much as I don't want to do it, I'm going to take one of my own choices out. Okay. I'm gonna say we can probably lose Train to Busan.
What?
I mean, no. It's personally, it's one of my favorites of all of the ones we've talked about. But I don't feel like it's a Mount Rushmore kind of thing.
I disagree.
I don't feel like, because I don't feel like it's very well known outside of people who are just really into either horror or South Korean cinema or both.
I guess you're right.
And honestly, like if we're gonna pick for the final pick, if we're gonna pick one of the South Korean ones, I say we go with the Bong Joon-ho one.
Right.
Because
He's big enough now.
because he's a much bigger deal.
Yeah.
He's won multiple Oscars, and he's like,
well, especially after the whole thing with Parasite and that.
Like, yeah, exactly. He won 4 Oscars for that movie. And he's also, you know, he's just made a much bigger, you know, he's had like Snowpiercer and, you know,
but
all
also
this other
like
stuff.
Tarantino champions him every time he puts out a movie.
Right. He's like one of the masters, and I can't even tell you the guy that directed Train to Busan.
Okay, I
mean, I'm sure he's good. I think he's an animator, actually.
He may be, yeah.
I think an animator, and this was his first like live action thing.
Yeah,
which is a pretty good debut movie if it is.
I mean, it's a great movie. It is like a 10 out of 10 masterpiece as far as I'm concerned. But and even though The Host is not one of Bong Joon-ho's most well-known movies, I think if we're gonna lose one of the Korean movies, even though I like it more than The Host, we have to lose Train to Busan.
Yeah.
Okay. What about you, Eric? With another one that has to go?
Well, considering what we have on there, which is, you know, Saw, Get Out, and The Babadook, of these ones left over, which is Drag Me to Hell, The Host, Hereditary, and Megan, the one that kind of fits, the one that's kind of similar to the other ones, especially to Get Out and The Babadook, is Hereditary. So I'm probably going to cut it off.
Yeah.
So it makes sense, because just so we can make it balanced and he can go around. Yeah.
Well,
you can only have so many elevated horror.
Right.
Well,
right. We already have 2 of them up there.
Like I think the Babadook walk to Hereditary can run. So I think it's kind of like
right.
It's kind of like the Black Sabbath kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know, of course, people do it even more extreme, like heavy metal more extreme. Like you got your Judas Priest and then like your Metallicas and Motorheads and Slayer. But like Black Sabbath was like the basis of that, kind of like the Babadook. And then people just went more extreme with that.
And honestly, if we were gonna do an Ari Aster movie on here, I would say Midsommar. I feel like that one made a bigger splash because that's the one you see lots of memes and stuff of.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the one that still people think about. Like Hereditary was big at the time, but it's kind of disappeared over the years since then.
Yeah, I just meant like the word of mouth of it being the scariest movie. I think it had the bigger splash there.
Right.
That's why I was comparing it to the other in that regard.
I will say this before we get into this last little bit. I think we're down between. I suspect that either Megan or like Bong Joon-ho are going to make it onto here. That's what my gut kind of tells me right now, which I'm kind of fine with either.
Yeah, I think so. I think we all know what's going to be on there, just given kind of what we want diversity in the list. The next one that gotta go. I Love You, Sam. Drag Me to Hell. It's not nearly as iconic.
Yeah, it's kind of been forgotten.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a fun movie.
Yeah, it's really fun.
It's fun.
The when the goat comes out at the end.
Yeah, and I think people do talk about it. Like they do talk about the vomiting older lady.
Yeah,
but
or her eyes popping out.
Yeah,
that sort of thing.
Teeth falling out.
Teeth. Oh, the teeth that she starts gumming Allison Lohan like on the neck or whatever. It's so weird.
It's like getting in her mouth, like eating her chin. Love it.
All right. So we're down to Megan and The Host, and we'll just do a vote.
Oh, this is tough.
Okay.
Jackson, what are you going to go with?
This is tough. All right. As much as I adore Megan and haven't seen The Host in nearly 20 years, I'm going to vote for The Host, mostly because
one for The Host.
It's more inclusive choice, and also because, like, you know, Megan is another product of the James Wan machine, and we've already got a James Wan on it, even though he didn't direct it. He co-wrote it and produced it. So I think
he wrote it. That's interesting.
He's one of the writers. It's there's a woman that's the other screenwriter. I can't remember her name off the top of my head, but they
There is
wrote
a
it
lot
together.
of interconnectivity with that too, because it's like James Wan like wrote Megan in that Blumhouse, and then Jason Blum was a producer on Get Out, right?
Yeah, I mean, you
But
can't really talk about horror the last,
that's
10
true.
20 years without talking about James Wan and or Jason Blum. And of course, now they've joined forces, and they're partners now. So makes sense.
Right,
I
so
almost picked Paranormal Activity, and then I didn't because I don't like that movie.
I don't like it either,
why.
but it is a big deal. It's
Yeah,
maybe has more of a right to be on the list than Megan or the host, but
right. That's not our choice.
Yeah.
All right, Eric, the host or Megan?
I really want to pick Megan, but I'll probably pick the host.
All right, yeah, that's it. Because there's no way I'm gonna infect it. So,
what if I had said Megan? Would you have switched?
no, I would have said the host.
I thought you hadn't seen the host.
But I did think, well, if like I said,
why would you vote for a movie you haven't seen?
No, because like I think we have to have a foreign movie in there.
Yeah,
The whole we have to have a monster movie, like a traditional. That's more like a traditional
monster movie. Right? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It is a monster movie. So
yeah, but we don't have a slasher on the list now.
It's true, which would be Megan.
Megan is a slasher essentially.
But slasher
low body count, but still.
But the slasher isn't like the hot thing.
Right now. But it's still kicking. I mean, you have X.
Oh shit! You know what we forgot about? Talk to Me.
Yeah,
that's a good one.
Yeah, it's good.
I don't know what that movie's legacy is going to be yet, though.
Same. I mean, they are making a sequel, so who knows? I'm interested to see what those guys do. Yeah, but
all right. So the official horror, sci-fi, and beyond Mount Rushmore for modern horror movies is Shaun, The Babadook, Get Out, and The Host. Not a bad list. That's actually really good.
And honestly, the only one that's out of the box on there is The Host. Like I figured the other three were gonna make it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you can't. I mean, they're kind of essential. There's a lot of movies that we didn't even bring up. There's stuff like High Tension, for example. That would have covered our slasher bases.
Sure.
Let me just
extreme genre. Yeah.
Stuff like I don't know how many people would vote for something like Mother. Mother.
Yeah.
Then as far as like elevated horror, you've got like the Robert Eggers stuff. You've got The Witch, and you've got The Lighthouse. We didn't mention,
but I feel like that stuff is like coming off the Babadook, like it's baking off the Babadook.
Yeah, we didn't mention like A Quiet Place. We didn't mention The Cabin in the Woods.
Ooh.
These are just the 2010s I'm looking at right now. I could go back and look at the others, but stuff like I'm trying to see here. What else did
Devil's Rejects? Let the right one in.
Any of the Rob Zombie kind of stuff.
Zombie movies. Yeah.
It.
Yeah.
Especially Chapter 1. Great. That was a huge hit. Yeah. We didn't mention the Terrifier movies.
Going to Megan like being the biggest thing in horror last year, like it was like that was it.
It was
2017.
It was way bigger than Megan was. I mean, I was working at the Alamo when that came out, and it was sold out screenings. Like
I stayed on the same equivalent because people dress up as Megan and do the dance.
Yeah, it's a perfect movie for the sort of TikTok age that we're in now.
But it is still around. It's still kicking. Like it still comes up like every Halloween. Like there's still like they make little figures of it now and all that.
Yeah, you got the Spirit. Yeah, you got the Spirit Halloween, and they got all that. Yeah. What Pennywise do you see most of? Like you see Bill Skarsgård. You don't really see a whole lot of like Tim Curry.
Right.
Of course.
Let me see. Did we miss anything else? I mean, there is a lot of the like extreme stuff, but that stuff is not
Yeah.
going to be as big, you know, stuff like, well, like Antichrist, for example. But
Yeah.
that's going to have such a
Yeah.
limited appeal. I don't see how you could put it
Mhm.
Mm.
on the list.
I think it's a good list. I think it's a really good list.
It is a good list.
Yeah, I like it way more than the last one.
The last one was almost impossible to make, though,
Yeah.
Yeah.
because we had
We should
such a
almost. Yeah.
huge field to pick from.
But I
We
think
probably should have
here,
done it in like chunks of 20 years. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that
Probably
probably
would
would
have
make
been
the
easier.
most sense.
yeah, I think
Yeah.
next time we do this, and we could probably do this as like a yearly thing. Maybe we can do like decades. Like so we can do like 80s,
Yeah.
70s, 90s.
Yeah.
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 But yeah, no, I like it here. I like this because like this is all the movies that showed you where like horror was going. So like
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Saw the torture genre, Babadook,
Mm-hmm.
quote unquote elevated horror, Get Out, like social commentary horror, and then
Yeah.
giving black people more agency. And then The Host, like, was one of those movies, like it probably like it made people more interested in like foreign horror. It was one of them, like that, and probably like The
I mean,
Ring.
it's the breakout for Bong Joon-ho. Like you probably wouldn't have gotten Snowpiercer or any
Yeah.
of the other like crossover movies that he made because of if he
Because
didn't have the host.
yeah,
Yeah.
because I think it was only like his second movie or something like that.
He
Because
had
he had
made like
done
he
Memories of Murder.
Murder and then Mother, I think, before that, or whatever that Mother one
I thought
was. There's
Mother
like
was
one.
after.
Maybe it was. I can't remember. But
Yeah.
it was only like his like maybe second or third movie.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
Memories of Murder is really good. You should watch that,
it
Drake.
is.
It's
yeah.
sort of like a Korean Zodiac.
Oh, I fucking love Zodiac. That's in my
Yeah.
top 30 favorite.
Yeah.
I almost picked that one, and then but I thought the host was like it's. I mean, it was really no one had really seen Memories of a Murder
But is
before
Memories
then.
of
So
Murder based off a true story, or is it fictional?
Yeah, it's based on the very first documented serial killer in South Korea.
Oh, nice.
mhm.
And
Or
I think it's a
not nice
pretty I
for
think it's
them,
pretty
but
loosely based on that, but that's
course.
definitely the basis for it. And it
yeah,
follows the cops who are, investigating the case.
yeah.
Mhm.
Zodiac for
And it's
some
actually very funny too. It's a
oh,
Yeah.
much funnier movie than you expect it to be.
so is
But that's
Zodiac.
just
Zodiac's hilarious.
But that's all like Bong Joon-ho movies too. Is they always have like a
he's
thread of humor
he's a
that runs through
very
them.
comedic.
Yeah.
He's got a
Yeah.
very comedic sensibility to him, for sure.
Yeah, for some reason, Zodiac's a weird, and I don't mean any disrespect from the actual victims. It's a weird comfort movie for me. I just think it's
Mm.
something about like the 60s and 70s aesthetic of it all. I don't know.
Yeah.
So like the movie starts out and it played that Three Dog Night song, the Why Can People Be So Cruel? It's just something about, and even though I know like this girl is about to like bite it and then this guy's about to be traumatized for life. There's just
Mm.
something about hearing the opening notes to that song. It just puts
Mm.
me, I don't know, it just relaxes me.
Well, then it's got like, what is it, the hurdy-gurdy man or whatever
Oh
that
God,
plays?
Yeah.
that's a creepy song.
Donovan's a creepy man.
Yeah. Hurdy gurdy 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 man. But anyway,
Okay.
guys,
Yeah.
if you like this episode and you want to see more spooky and weird content, make sure you slash that subscribe button and follow us on Facebook, Twitter X, at Horror Sci-Fi and Beyond. You can also listen to the audio version of this podcast on Spotify. Also, don't forget to leave this episode a killer comment and give it a King Kong thigh thumbs up. And always remember, guys, stay weird. Future Drew here. Because I forgot to mention my October horror movie review series slate for 2024 in the when we recorded the this last Ramble On. And so I'm gonna give it to you right now. Um, so this year we're doing 2 movies that are turning 40 and then 2 movies that are turning 30. And to kick off this October horror movie review series, on October 1st, we got for this 30th anniversary, A Nightmare on Elm Street, and that's gonna be with Emma James from the Brian De Palma episode. On the 8th, we got the Friday the 13th Part 4, the final chapter review with Eric White, and then brand new guest, Ben Ellis. So be looking forward to that. On October 15th for its 30th anniversary, we got the Interview with the Vampire review with Jackson Harbor, and then another brand new guest with Vera Gowdy, who's a frequent guest on the Fear God podcast. On October 22nd, we got the top 13 scariest horror movie moments with Reed Delaki from the Fear God podcast. So that's really exciting. And then on the 30th, Devil's Night, which is very appropriate for this movie, I got the Crow review with Gavin Eddings from the Gavin Loves Horror YouTube channel, and then the They're Coming to Get You podcast. And then to wrap off this month, we're not doing a review or a list. We're actually doing a commentary for the original Ghostbusters to coincide with the 40th anniversary of that film, and that's going to be with Eric White. So that's really exciting. Definitely be looking forward to that. This is a great lineup, and yeah, so all this will be fun, and I'll see you guys in October 1st. All right, have a good one.